Is this thing on? Hello? Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop. Hi. Hi, guys. How are we doing today? I hope you're all doing very well. It's good to see you. My bit rate is going a little nuts, so sorry that we waited a little bit of extra time before we started here today. I wanted to make sure that we weren't dropping any frames or anything, and it appears that we haven't, so that's good. That's good information. My webcam still, or not webcam, I'm sorry, my microphone still refuses to just sit still and stay in one place. It's truly infuriating. And I'm so sorry. I will probably sound a little bit inconsistent until I get it figured out. I need $45 and 8,000 minutes. That's a lie. I made up those numbers and units entirely. I'm very dehydrated. So I'm gonna drink some water, but you can watch me do it if you want. Hi. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you. I am so psyched about what we're doing tonight. I am very worried that we have less people in here than we normally do at 10 minutes after start, but I also started earlier today than I have been starting recently. So I feel like maybe we can hang out for a couple minutes and just chit chat before we get started on anything. Because we have actual content that we have permission to use today. And it's this Irish lady named Emily who has this podcast called Morbidology. And she's amazing. We have a new queen. We stan. It's not Emily Artful. It's a new Emily. I guess just everybody named Emily rules. I guess that's just like, what's up? Hey Oz, how's it going? It's so yummy. I love ice cold water. I love it. Okay. Fuck. Out of all. Okay, I have 54 moderators. I have 54 moderators. 4 of them are online, and they're all bots. That's what's up. That's what's good. Want to know how I know I'm succeeding? Okay. Genuinely though, I have a billion crochet projects that I want to do. We're gonna for sure get to the end of this dish rag today. But also I kind of am feeling like knitting. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you rather see a little bit of knitting today? Because I just retaught myself how to knit in purl. But we could also, there's a bunch of little projects that I want to make. I want to make these tiny baskets that are so fucking cute. I want to make socks. There are purses. You know what? I'm kind of into doing a purse tonight. My head is pounding and my mom didn't get my joke even after 3 texts explaining it to her. Oh, yeah, exactly what Leslie just said. Moms, am I right? I miss my mom. I've recently been coming to grips with the fact that my mother wasn't perfect, right? I always knew she wasn't perfect. I always knew that, like, maybe it's harder to be a mom. Like, grown-ups aren't just, like, always right all the time. Which was weird because my mom had an answer for everything. Anytime I asked her anything, there would be an answer. unless it was like me challenging her authority. Then the answer was because I'm the mom and I said so. And that's a problem. And I'm like just starting to come to grips with it at 36 years old, that maybe my mom maybe contributed to some of the problems in my life. And it's really hard to not have her around to talk about it, because it would be really nice to be able to be like, yo, mom, it really kind of fucked me up that you would say this or do this, and I would love for you to apologize for it, even though I do already forgive you. It's harder to forgive her without like giving her a chance to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Hey, Leslie, I'm left too. Obnoxiously, if you can't tell from my Twitter. I'm very, very left. Well, okay. We don't have a whole lot going on in chat. I don't have like really a whole lot to talk about either, so I guess we could just get started. Hi Zombie Broccoli, how are you? It's good to see you. I can just go ahead and get everything hot to trot here. Just gotta put away the old keyboard. Push it back behind my monitors there. And get everything else looking sharp. You have no dad, so yeah, you know. Oh man, I love my dad so much. I'm so thankful that he's still around. He is, I don't know if it's 1 year or 2 years sober now. I think he's 2 years sober now, from being an alcoholic since his teens. And he's in his 60s, and he's like going on dates with ladies and stuff. I'm so fucking proud of him. He like started a musical instrument collection. My dad's out there just killing it. And I'm so proud of him and happy about it. I miss him. Better now with such wonderful You stop it. You quit it. You quit it right now. Okay. Well, also, sorry for shadows. I think that, honestly, I'm just probably too close to the wall there. I am ready. I'm ready to start if you guys are. I know that there's only like 11 people watching so far, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and get started. I still have to finish this rag anyway, hey? And by the way, it stretched into very weird proportions while we were gone, so that's super nice. I don't know if you guys remember how nice it looked when we left it last night, but it looks much worse today. Let's go ahead and get going on that. We can sit here, I guess, and chit chat while I crochet. I won't have to be as careful about where my hands and stuff wind up when we don't have a video up on the screen to worry about. But I am excited for tonight's content. Hell yeah, bro, your dad is living in his 20s. He is. Walk he gets to just do it now.
Pal Voyager has entered the chat.
Pale Voyager, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the raid. How are you? You guys, Pale Voyager is my friend. He's very handsome and smart and funny and witty. You should really go follow him. You should really go do it. Thank you so much for the follow, Cosmo Complete and Saz Liku. You know that feeling that you get? You know that feeling that you get when you have a sip of orange juice and then there's a lot of pulp in it and you're like, fuck yeah, I love high pulp orange juice? That's the feeling that I got from you following my channel just now. So thank you so much for being my surprise amazing orange juice. Also, Nikizta, what a fun name. That's so fun to say. I highly encourage everybody right now to say Nikizta out loud to themselves. What a fun thing to say. Nice. Nikista, you know that feeling that you get when it's just a little bit stuffy in the car and maybe kind of smelly, and then you're like, it's nice enough outside that I can crack the window, and you crack the window and it doesn't even drown out the sound of the stereo, and it gets rid of the funk, and it makes the car less stuffy and nice and pleasantly breezy. That's the feeling that I just got from you following my channel just now. So thank you so much for being my cool, refreshing breeze in the stinky, stinky car. Also nice. How are you guys? I'm, for some reason, fucking awesome at saying people's names. Oh my god, that's so nice of you. Cosmo Complete, thank you for gifting the sub.
Pale Voyager Sparkler, Cosmos Complete gifted a tier 1 sub to Pale Voyager. This is their first
You guys
gift
are crushing
sub in the
it.
channel.
What an amazing raid that was. Thank you so much. Also, really, my chat, if you have not watched Pale Voyager before, you absolutely should. He is one of the wittiest people I've ever had a conversation with. You're gonna like his content for sure. You're tired from a long day. I'm so sorry that you had such a long day. I'm tired because I mispronounced your name. I asked you how to pronounce it, and you spelled it phonetically for me. So if I say it wrong, it's your fault, Rana. No, I genuinely, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I've been mispronouncing. Please tell me how to say your name. What you want me to call you. Guys, it's important to me. It's important. I'm sorry. My ADD is showing so hard right now, but I think that there's a lot of agency in your name. Hey? I like it when somebody corrects me on how to say their name. I like to know that I'm getting your name right because it's a respect thing, right? Aw, Nikista, thank you. That's nice. That's just feel good vibes right there. Thank you. We're crocheting. It's terribly uneven. I apologize. I think that really what's going on is I am just my tension is getting too tight. I need to loosen up a little bit on my tension. This is the star stitch. We're doing it because it looks like buttholes. That's the truth. Hi, welcome to my stream. I think it's terribly funny that these stitches look like buttholes. We use butthole terminology when we talk about how to do this stitch. But yeah, if you look at it, that's just a bunch of little anuses. It just is. I've done crochet and knitting and I don't have the patience for either. There's a learning curve. There's a definite learning curve. I understand completely. Star stitch can be really pretty though. I think it's gorgeous. Ain't nothing wrong with looking like buttholes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. 100 years ago, everybody rode horses around and only the wealthy could afford cars. Today, everybody drives cars and only the wealthy can afford horses. Oh, how the stables have turned. That's the best one yet. That's the best one yet. Oh, you meant with the call. It was just one of my sisters having a very belated birthday. Better than nothing though, I suppose. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I must have missed some context here. Just so you guys know, I'm streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. Oh my goodness. You enjoy your bath?
Cosmos Complete cheered. Time to go
You
take
have
a
an
bath,
amazing night
but have
too.
an amazing
You did not
night,
have to
y'all.
do that. That's so nice. Y'all are killing me. Okay, I'm gonna get back to crocheting just really quickly so that you guys know. Fudge Dugans. What was I saying? I was saying something. Okay, see you later, Nikista. Have fun. Run a game is in like a tabletop. Ooh, so fun. I hope you have a really good time. Ooh, what are we making? This is just a dishcloth here. Under the White Oak, thank you so much for the follow. You know that feeling that you get when you smell somebody making popcorn? You can smell it before you even walk in the door. You open the door and they're like, I made popcorn, do you want some? And you're like, fuck yeah, of course I want some popcorn. That's the feeling that I just got from you following my channel just now. Thank you so much for being my surprise popcorn. Thank you. I already subbed to you on YouTube, so yeah. That's so nice. Oh my God. You make popcorn on the stove? So do we. We make it in a wok. It makes it, if it ends up burning, you end up burning a whole lot less of it if you're doing it in a wok. Anyway, okay, so just so you guys know, my whole thing that I do is, we call it creepy crochet. I basically just like listen to or watch some sort of creepy media, always with the content creator's permission, unless we're stealing from YouTube, in which case we don't care. Rich people owe us, so we steal from them when we get the chance to. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm obnoxiously left-leaning. We crochet and we listen to creepy shit. That's my whole thing. I'm a garbage human being. I'm disgusting. I'm unfavorable. Unsubscribe, unfollow, but welcome to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here. I feel like there's plenty enough people here to get started then. We're missing a bunch of our regulars right now. You are also creepy and like crochet. Well, you know what? That is a hug on mine earballs. I'm so excited that you love crochet, or well, I kind of escalated that for you on accident there. Sorry. I'm so glad that you like crochet and that you are also creepy. I have a really good idea, excuse me, for my channel branding. And I'm so poor, but I am so excited because I'm gonna make it Ouija themed, I think. Oh no, it's definitely a love. I have a business of crochet. Really? Will you share your store with us, please? I misspoke, but I couldn't think of the word. I meant I prefer dragon, but it's okay. You call me Rana. I will call you dragon. I want to call you dragon if that's what you prefer. And also enjoy your lurk. OMG, if you allow it, yes. Girl, we want to share with one another. I'm definitely opening this and taking a look later. Like I said, I'm very, very poor. But when I have the money, I like to support my fellow hustlers, I guess. I don't know, content creators. I like that we can, in our community, share our crafts with one another. I have never understood the do not promote yourself, do not promote your friends attitude that other streamers have. It's so weird to me. But then again, I have 18 viewers right now and they get like 5,000. So maybe they know what they're talking about, but I would rather have a close-knit group that I care about seeing what they're up to than 5,000 strangers in here telling me to get good at Dark Souls or whatever, you know? I called dibs on being Rabbi Tuckman. Wait, my gumbo last night was great. As always, maybe I'm a bit arrogant, but every decent chef requires a bit of arrogance, I suppose. I've never had gumbo before. Close-knit is where it's at. I'm a fan. I really like having a close-knit community. He is the dumpling. Oh my God, is that him? I also have a cream tabby. His name is Kika. He had to go to the vet yesterday because he has diarrhea really bad and he keeps getting it all over his fur, licking it up, and then barfing up the diarrhea later. It's delightful. Like, just amazing. Euphoric. Oh no, is your guy okay? Yeah, he's doing so much better today. He hasn't barfed at all today. So that's good. That is the absolute worst. I know. Really what I'm worried about is him being comfortable. I think that the anti-diarrheal medicine that we have him on that he hates, it breaks my heart to have to deliver it to him, but you know, you have to. Or else they're just gonna be sick and miserable and maybe get worse. They always hate the meds. This one in specific, the doctor said that like it's really, really bitter and it made him throw up the first 2 times that he had to take it, like, because that's how bad it tastes. And also it makes him hyper salivate is what it's called. He ends up with like a disgusting long like wise man beard of foamy ass saliva. Poor boy. Like, legit, if I showed you pictures of him, you guys would be like, he is in the worst way. But I promise he's being taken very well care of. And he'll probably come say hi at some point tonight. You'll probably see him. My kitties spend a lot of time on stream. Somebody made a clip last night of him hanging out on my lap. I was crocheting. I was out here crocheting, doing my thing. We were watching something creepy on YouTube, and then he put his paw on my paw. It was the cutest. I loved it so much. There's a clip if you go and look into my clips. You will also see a bunch of myself clipping myself. That's for me to edit videos eventually someday to release edited content on my YouTube channel. I'm having flashbacks to like the least happy times of my life. I hate editing so much, but eventually you gotta do it. Anyway, we have found a delightful, I don't want to call her my partner because she's the one that really did all the work on this content that we're about to consume for Creepy Crochet. This woman named Emily, a wonderful Irish woman named Emily, has a podcast called the Morbidology podcast. And I reached out to her and she gave us permission to use some of her episodes sometimes for Creepy Crochet. And I listened to one of the episodes, a story that came out of my home state of Iowa, actually, of a child neglect case so severe that the boy ended up dying of neglect, and it's devastating. I listened to her episode on it and she is thorough. She is clear. I think you guys are going to really love her content. She has, what was I going to say? So sorry. She has a Patreon. If you guys like what you hear today, you can go and support her on Patreon. Or you could go listen to episodes of it by yourself, but you might end up double listening if you spend a lot of time here. All kinds of things. Hell yeah, Matt! I'm so excited for you. Okay, this sounds like a dark topic I just came into. I only have heard. No. We're done talking about the dead baby. We're done talking about it. We are going to move on to a different, totally cheerful and uplifting topic: the murder of Jose Perez. I know nothing about this case. I am so excited. She recommended this one herself. It's the most recent episode of the podcast, and I just adore her coverage style. We're gonna finish this this rag project that we have going on, and then I will probably actually experiment a little bit. Sorry, I heard my partner walk by, and I thought that he was coming in here. He's not. We will either experiment with knitting, because I know how to knit, I know how to purl, and that's pretty much it right now. And I would like to learn more. Or we might make another dragon. I don't know. We'll decide what our project will be as soon as we're done with this. This one might take us all night. It's taken a surprisingly long time to get this far. Then again, I am slow and I obviously talk a lot. So that's what's up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just need to get the capture going. Heck yeah. And let me know if volume and everything is okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. Congratulations, though, Matt. That's sick. How's the sound? Is it too loud, or am I too loud, or is everything good, or... Ooh, this slaps already. Yeah, these are the vibes that Stranger Things tried to throw out.
Welcome to Morbidology.
Levels are good? Okay.
Emily G. Thompson, author of Unsolved Child Murders, Cults Uncovered, Mysteries Uncovered, and co-author of Unsolved Murders, True Crime Cases Uncovered.
Do stop
Join
me if you have any
Morbidology on
questions about
Patreon
what's
for
going on with
exclusive
crochet. I will
episodes of
answer whatever I
Morbidology
can. There are
Plus,
also several
exclusive
knowledgeable
merch,
crocheters in chat.
ad-free and early release episodes, and much
Just
more.
so you know, we're like very pro helping each other learn out here.
It was a pleasant summer morning in Raleigh, North Carolina, in June of 2013, when a man taking an early morning walk came across what he believed was a bag of trash. As the man approached the object, he recoiled in horror as he discovered that the item was not a bag of trash at all, but the lifeless body of a man.
Bumble Kitty Store helps me out a lot. Taught me a trick that I, in my 10 years of crochet, have never.
It was around
even,
6 a.m.
well, it's
on
not
the
that I hadn't
16th of June
conceived of it, it's just that I didn't employ
2013,
it.
when a man who was recovering from open heart surgery came across a grisly scene as he was taking an early morning walk on Old Bayleaf Road near the reservoir in Raleigh, North Carolina.
I had
just had open heart surgery on Monday, and I was not sleeping very well. And they had told me the more I walked, the better off I would be.
I will be happy to do it.
I was going to rise early. I wasn't sleeping very well, so at about 5:15, I noticed that it was beginning to get daybreak, and so about 5:30.
Also, Quinn,
which I was actually sleeping on the couch on my back.
Sorry, I'm going to pause this really quick. Quinn, I messaged you. On Discord. I have stuff that I want to talk to you about. Also, hit me with your friend's shop because a very generous benefactor, Raikudo, sent me $50 to spend on crochet stuff, and I haven't spent it yet. And I would love to support your best bud. I would love to do that. You responded on Discord? Okay, I'll message you back after chat. I want to talk to you about some stuff, I think. Always happy to help. I am also self-taught, so I feel like I do a lot of things wrong too. I love, that's something that I love so much about the crochet community. Like, I have not ever come across anybody that like wasn't eager to be helpful. You know what I mean? I feel like people, like, even if it's just because they want to flex that they know more than you, it's still like there's a wholesomeness about it. There's like this immediate like mentor vibe. You know what I mean? It's awesome. I just like it. I just love the crochet community. Yeah, I learned through YouTube, so I'm in the same boat. Yeah. There's a whole lot of warm fuzzies going around right now. I'm living for it. I love it. Okay, all right. I'm gonna continue the creepster biz. Also, I like literally have not paid attention to a word of this, so I'm gonna start over and I'm gonna be quiet and listen for a minute unless you guys have something that I need to respond to. I worked at Joann Fabrics for 4 years and learned so much about all the crafts. Man, I would love to work at Joann Fabrics. What a dream gig. Except for I heard that it fucking sucks working at Joann Fabrics and that they're terrible to their employees. Were they good to you? I hope they were good to you. I heard that it's terrible. Oh, man. It would be terrible for me because I would spend my entire paycheck the second I got it. Anyway, okay. I'm not going to sit here and throw shade. I'm sorry that it sucked for you under the white oak. Hi, Sperry. We're starting over on this is Morbidology. We have express permission from Emily, the creator. She has a Patreon. Just search Morbidology. You will find her. She's amazing. We love her. Okay. And it's not Emily Artful. Okay. Here we go. Mario Day. Hi, Solar Cook. It's good to see you. I forgot that it was Mario Day. I heard that it was uniquely terrible to work for Joann. Oh, Oz, good luck.
Welcome to Morbidology. I'm your host, Emily G. Thompson, author of Unsolved Child Murders, Cults Uncovered, Mysteries Uncovered, and co-author of Unsolved Murders, True Crime Cases Uncovered. Join Morbidology on Patreon for exclusive episodes of Morbidology Plus, exclusive merch, ad-free and early release episodes, and much more.
It
was a pleasant summer morning in Raleigh, North Carolina, in June of 2013, when a man taking an early morning walk came across what he believed was a bag of trash. As the man approached the object, he recoiled in horror as he discovered that the item was not a bag of trash at all, but the lifeless body of a man.
Very femme-friendly, therefore catty as all fuck. Yeah, what a shame. I love women. Why can't all women just love all women?
It was around 6 a.m. on the 16th of June 2013 when a man who was recovering from open heart surgery came across a grisly scene as he was taking an early morning walk on Old Bayleaf Road near the reservoir in Raleigh, North Carolina.
I had just had open heart surgery on Monday, and I was not sleeping very well. And they had told me the more I walked, the better off I would be.
Though I just recently taught myself,
I was going to rise early. I wasn't sleeping very well, so at about 5:15, I noticed that it was beginning to get daybreak, and so about 5:30, which I was actually sleeping on the couch on my back, I arose and started putting my shorts on and got my dog, and we went down the driveway to go for my first walk of the day.
Why is he being so detailed about this?
Well, as I came out of my driveway, the Old Bayleaf Road, which actually turns back right past my driveway, there's a road that continues all the way down to NC 90 to the lake, which is about a half a mile, which used to be Six Forks Road.
At first, the walker thought that the strange-looking item in the ditch may have simply been a bag of trash. But as he got closer to the object, it soon became apparent that it was the lifeless body of a man.
And as I turned to the left to start the run towards the lake, my first recollection was I seen something in the ditch, and it really looked like someone had thrown a white garbage bag out, because all I seen was something that was light and was about the size of
it's
a
making him sound
bag.
Guilty.
My dog actually went to it, and then as I started approaching, I realized that garbage bag had legs, and so as I approached it, I realized it was a person.
Sorry for laughing at this.
The man was estimated
that
to be
garbage
in his
bag
late
had
50s
legs
or early 60s, with short greying hair, a beard, and a goatee. He was wearing a white sleeveless shirt and grey shorts, as well as a rubber wristwatch with the words "Support your veterans" emblazoned on the front, and a wedding ring.
I absolutely
the shirt
am in
that the gentleman had on had been pulled over his head, and so I could not see, but I knew that he was injured because there was blood on the shirt where it came up and went around towards his head. I bent over and hollered if he was okay, and he was non-responsive. And so luckily I had my cell phone. I pulled out my cell phone and dialed 911. And the lady came on, and I told her there was a gentleman in the ditch, and he was injured. He was non-responsive. And so she asked me precisely where I was at. So I gave her directions to where I was at. And she told me to stay on the line, that she would be right back with me. And so when she came back, she started asking me if I could start CPR. By that time, the first responder, who had just left his duty station at the Stony Hill Fire Department, had just passed the road, so he was there in just seconds. I mean, it was less than a minute or two after I had made the original call. And he came out of his truck putting his medical gloves on, and when I was still talking to the first responder, the 911 lady, he bent over and put his hands on the gentleman's back, and he looked up at me when I was still talking and shook his head and said he's deceased and he's been dead for a while.
The man had been killed in a brutal and frenzied attack. He had been stabbed approximately 12 times, and he had also been shot once in the face. The gunshot had hit the man in his cheek area, shattering his dentures. One stab wound was to the neck, severing his carotid artery. One was to his left chest, perforating his heart and causing a bleed in the chest cavity. And another one was to his right lung.
3,
the man was
2,
carrying no
1.
ID, so...
Zombie Broccoli, we're listening to a podcast called Morbidology. It's run by a lady named Emily. They're just at Morbidology on Twitter if you want to find them. I think they also have just the website, morbidology.com. I did not come prepared enough. I'm not repping hard enough for how much this lady rules. I spoke to her and she gave us permission to air some episodes, and she suggested specifically this one. Under the White Oak, you have a great night. Do not be apologetic. You're great, and I hope that you don't have to wallow in your feelings and that you can writhe around in them and enjoy them. I mean, also your feelings are valid. Don't let me tell you how to feel. I'm sorry. That was uncalled for. I hope you have a lovely evening. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's what's up. Morbidology. She has a Patreon if you like her. I like her. I support you to, or I encourage you to support, if you decide that you enjoy this podcast enough. I like it a lot. Okay, here we go.
Police would release descriptive details of the man, including details on his items of clothing, and appeal to the public for help. It wouldn't be long until the man was identified as 64-year-old Jose Manuel Perez, and he lived just a few streets away in the upmarket neighborhood
Hi, Rick Rocker.
of Schoolhouse Street,
you?
just off Wakefield Pines Drive. Police would embark on Jose's home. They needed to inform his family of the tragic discovery and begin an investigation. Sheriff's investigator T.S. Barefoot was greeted at the front door by Rachel Lopez, who identified herself as the daughter of Jose's wife. She informed the investigator that her mother, Joanna Roberta Madonna, was not at home, and neither was Jose.
Critical. Wow, I
she
haven't
said
heard
she
that
believed
name
that
in
Jose was in Florida,
a long
before
time.
adding that she wasn't sure how he'd gotten there, since his car was parked in the garage. This evidently wasn't the case. Jose had been murdered just a couple of streets away.
It's good to see you.
Police needed
Rick
to get
Rocker.
to the bottom of it. Jose was born on the 25th of October 1948 in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. He was a Vietnam veteran who had battled some substance abuse issues in his past, as well as alcoholism. But nevertheless, he was always one to try and help others with their addiction issues. Before meeting his current wife, Madonna, Jose had a daughter, Vanessa, by another woman, Myrna Perez.
Looks like
Jose was also a
guy.
grandfather of two, Jillian and Aidan. In 2008, Jose and Madonna met while they were both at an alcohol treatment program. Much like Jose, Madonna had been hardened by some difficult life experiences, including drug abuse and alcohol addiction. As a teenage girl, she left home and lived on the streets, during which she was raped on at least two occasions.
I love Messy Cat.
She turned to drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism and was tormented by bulimia and insecurity. When Madonna learned that her mother was dying, her father encouraged her to return home to help care for her and finish high school, which she did. While no longer on the streets, Madonna was plagued by her harrowing experiences and suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder as an adult. Madonna had been able to eventually turn her life around. She finished school and was able to get a job as a translator in a law firm and then work as a special education teacher in the Wake County School District.
My heart. So by
the time that Madonna met Jose, she was a mother of three daughters who had been twice divorced.
Really happy.
When they first met, Madonna initially had no interest in embarking on a romantic relationship with Jose. He was 17 years her senior, and she was still married to her second husband. However, according to Madonna, Jose claimed to her that he had terminal cancer and did not have long left to live. The following year, the couple were married, and Madonna and her three daughters moved in with Jose. The couple moved around a fair amount, first living in New York, and then moving to North Carolina, where they lived in Roseville, Wake Forest, and finally Wakefield. Madonna left her job as a special education teacher because her youngest daughter had been having trouble at school, and the family depended on Jose financially. The blended family lived in the upmarket neighborhood of Schoolhouse Street, off Wakefield Pines Drive. The couple had purchased the $464,000, 2,800 square foot home in 2012, and they lived here with Madonna's three girls as well as her father. Jose always made sure to help Madonna's father with yard work, cooking, and other activities, and most mornings he would take her youngest daughter, who was 10 years old, to school. While Jose had beat his addictions, he was still troubled by other ailments. He had suffered from lung cancer and a number of other health problems, including diabetes and coronary heart disease. He was a frail man who struggled to walk on his own. Some of Jose's ailments were also related to his past drug abuse.
Makes
As a
me
result,
sad.
he had
Jose
limited
sounds
use
like a
of his
good dude.
hands because of nerve damage and atrophied hands. He struggled to grasp objects and needed to use special forks and spoons to eat. The VA had just recently approved a plan to equip the family's home with a wheelchair lift, ramps, a bathroom modification, and special doorknobs to make life that little bit easier for Jose. Jose's therapist, who had seen him before he
Yeah,
married
getting into
Madonna and
woodworking
then
is
again
super
following
expensive,
their marriage,
and lumber is
said
just
that the
getting more and
relationship
more
was one of
expensive.
codependency.
It's unfortunate. I
In
love
fact,
woodworking.
Jose had a deep anxiety that one day Madonna was going to up and leave him. He had kept a suitcase packed in case Madonna ever forced him to leave their home. Back at the family home,
Cooking is a
Rachel
great
told
one to
police
get
that her mother
into.
and stepfather had recently been fighting because, according to her mother, she had found emails on Jose's computer which led her to believe that he had been having an affair with a woman who lived in Florida. Eventually, Madonna showed up at the family home after receiving a phone call from her daughter to tell her the police were there.
Myself and Investigator Gay were outside the residence, and as Miss Madonna pulled up, she pulled up in a white Mercedes. We were basically in the street at the curb, almost simultaneously as Investigator Gay and I started to approach Miss Madonna. Investigator Weaver and Detective Maddox walked out of the residence, and Investigator Weaver was kind of like, she was on point basically, and wanted to get to Miss Madonna first before she could say anything. Miss Madonna informed us that she'd already contacted her attorney.
But before Madonna had even been informed that her husband had been killed, she informed the investigators that she had called her attorney.
That's
At the home,
fucking sketch.
she was informed that Jose had been found deceased.
She basically explained that the reason we were there is that he'd been found deceased. At that point, she was still standing up, and when she told her that, she cupped her hands to her face and fell to the ground and started crying uncontrollably. She was on the ground for a minute or two, a couple minutes, and Detective Weaver knelt down with her, or Investigator Weaver knelt down with her, and was trying to provide kind of a shoulder to cry on. And as I was watching her, I noticed that there were no tears or anything. It kind of caught me. It kind of surprised me a little bit. I remember looking at Investigator Gay. We kind of looked at each other like it didn't feel right at all.
Madonna was informed of her husband's murder, and her first reaction to the news
Why would you
was to slump to the
cry
ground
if you
and
weren't,
cover
like,
her face.
good at it? If you couldn't
However,
produce tears?
according to Detective Brian Gray, closer inspection
Also, Matt,
showed
you're right.
that there were
I have
no
to work very
actual
hard to get
tears.
him not to go chop down
Madonna
the
would be
whole
brought in for
forest when he wears
questioning,
flannel,
and she opened
I
up a
feed
little
him
bit more
syrup.
to the police. She said that things at home had been difficult recently. She claimed that Jose had started drinking and abusing drugs again, and that he had become abusive towards her. In the days leading up to Jose's murder, Madonna had texted a number of friends and family members, detailing the struggles in their relationship. She had texted his daughter, Vanessa Gant, telling her that Jose had been hanging out with people who were drinking and taking drugs, and that she wanted him out of the house. Vanessa found this peculiar.
I think
She
at
said
least one more
that was
row
not
of
his
buttholes
character.
here.
I don't remember ever seeing him having a drink of alcohol. As a matter of fact, Jose was so dedicated to clean living and was a long participant in Alcoholics Anonymous that several mourners at his funeral noted that he had helped them get involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, and a sobriety chip from AA was even placed in his ashes. Police would find the text messages Madonna had been sending peculiar, almost as if she were setting up an alibi. They would question the family and friends of Jose, trying to build an accurate portrayal of the family dynamic. Madonna's daughter Rachel would tell police that she had gotten on well with Jose, her stepfather. He helped her pay for her college expenses with his veteran benefits.
We weren't,
I've always
we weren't
loved
very
flannel.
close. We had a good relationship. I mean, he would, pick me up if I needed a ride somewhere, or maybe something to eat. Stepfather things. Like yard work, and he would clean the cars all the time. He'd help my grandfather out. Make him dinner or breakfast or something. He'd take him to his aunts.
What kinds of things did he do that were kind for Isabel?
Excuse me. He would, get up with her in the morning, get her ready for school, pick her up afterwards, take her to get ice cream or something.
Faking shock is probably better than faking crying.
Take her
Absolutely.
to her appointments and whatnot. So
life at home was relatively normal, but she said that she could sometimes hear her mother and stepfather argue. But it was nothing out of the ordinary, just regular couple arguments, mostly about money. She described the household as being a nurturing one, adding that her mother was a caring and loving person who would do anything for her family. Speaking of her mother and Jose, she said that they loved one another, they appeared to be happy, and they would go on dates. According to Madonna, the last time she had seen her husband was at around 7 p.m. on the 15th of June. She claimed she had told him to leave the house and seek help, and when he left that evening, he was carrying a suitcase. She said that this argument had been the result of her finding out that Jose had been having an affair with a woman in Florida. However, Madonna's version of events did not quite add up with her daughter Rachel's version of events. According to Rachel, she had seen her mother and stepfather leaving the house together that evening, and she ominously added that when her mother returned home, she was alone. She was also sweaty, hot, and upset. She spent much of the night on the phone, Rachel said. Rachel immediately noticed that there was a cut on her mother's left arm. It was around 4 inches long. She could tell that her mother was upset, and she asked what had happened, and Madonna said that Jose had assaulted her with a knife. "He cut you," Rachel shouted in disbelief, before Madonna told her to keep quiet because her grandfather was in the next room. Rachel urged her mother to phone police to report what had happened, but Madonna refused. This storyline certainly didn't align with Madonna's storyline. And becoming increasingly suspicious, police obtained a search warrant for the family's home. They removed a number of items from the home to conduct further testing with, including a knife, 2 computers, and a flash drive. They also took Jose's Jeep, Madonna's Jeep, some items of clothing, jewellery, a Bible, and trash bags. Inside one of the trash bags, they found a GPS unit. In another trash bag, they found something even more sinister.
They're very dedicated to having
a wedding ring.
Specific.
Police would also take physical evidence from Madonna in the form of DNA swabs, blood, and hair samples. While Madonna had initially claimed to police that Jose had been cheating on her, police would be able to find out that it was actually the other way around. After Madonna stopped being treated by her therapist, John Chadwick Richardson, in early 2013, the duo embarked on a romantic relationship.
Gross.
They would send increasingly flirty text messages to one another and had gone on several dates and kissed on at least one occasion. John voluntarily entered a probationary period with the North Carolina Board of Licensed Professional Counselors on the 1st of March 2013. In a consent order, he had acknowledged that between May 12, 2012 and October 9, 2002, he was impaired due to his substance abuse and mental health status. In fact, police would soon learn that on the same day that Jose's body was found, Madonna had shown up at...
I don't personally, thankfully, have any experience with this, but if at all, ever, you are in therapy and it feels like your therapist might be into you, you need a new therapist ASAP. That is disgusting. It is predatory. You are being so much more vulnerable with that person than they are being with you. They know so much more about what is going on with you than you could know about what's going on with them. It's just disgusting. It's heinous for a therapist to date one of their fucking patients. That makes me feel sick. I missed most of the backstory, so maybe I'm missing something, but it sounds like Jose was basically a nice guy and was disabled Did they give a reason why she would want to kill him? Well, I mean, I think we're hearing about the motive right now, is that she started seeing her fucking therapist. Ugh. That makes me feel so sick. But, like, yes, basically, Jose was just like a super nice dude, and he was pretty unwell. He had diabetes. He needed special tools for, like, walking and eating and stuff like that. And so it sounds like maybe she was sick of being his caretaker and wanted this romantic relationship, and, like, it got very out of hand. Man, I like to think I'm usually pretty good about this, but I really can't place Emily's accent. Do you know where she's from? Ireland. She's from Ireland. You know, that's absolutely legit. I'm in a master's program to become a therapist, and that is so gross and unethical. It's disgusting. Ugh. It gives me the heebie-jeebies in the way that other grooming does. Like, I look at that as grooming. Like, you are coming from a vulnerable place. They are going to very easily be able to manipulate you. It's grooming. It's disgusting. Ugh. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel a little queasy now. Okay, let's keep it going.
At John's home, he noticed that there were slight scratches and cuts to her face and arms, as if she had been involved in a scuffle. In relation to the cut on her arms, he said it looked more like a superficial scratch as opposed to a cut made with a knife.
She showed me her arms, said that he
bad at
had
this
cut her
part,
with a
getting
knife,
the
and
back
she
loop
showed me her arms, the inside of her
on
arms.
just the
They were
chain of
scratched.
First
More
star
like
of the row.
a person's fingernails or something scratching. The
first
skin was not
butthole, depending
broken.
on
There were
how you
not
look at
clear
it.
cuts or evidence that it had been bleeding.
John asked Madonna what had happened. She claimed that they had been inflicted when she attempted to break off her marriage with Jose. He asked why she didn't call police, and she simply responded that she didn't want to. John's career had really struggled because of his affair with Madonna, who had been his client. He did not want to be the reason that she separated from her husband, but she had begun telling people in her Alcoholics Anonymous groups that she had planned on leaving Jose for John. Just the day after the murder, Madonna was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. She was ordered to be held without bail. With Madonna behind bars, the investigation into Jose's murder continued. Police would obtain another search warrant, this time for the GPS data from the GPS unit that was found in the trash. They had hoped that it could reveal some locations that were visited either by Jose or Madonna in the lead-up to his murder or in the aftermath of his murder. In further searches, police would take more items from the home, including a trash bag containing Jose's meal, bank cards, eyeglasses, and medication. An examination of Jose's Jeep would uncover blood, but no gum was recovered, nor could they find a pair of shoes that matched a bloody shoe print found on Jose's clothing. Oof. A search of the computer, however, would uncover some sinister search items, such as, upon death of a veteran, can tasers kill people? Can tasers kill people with a heart condition? What is the best handgun for under $200?
Oh my God.
Death in absentia USA, and declare someone dead if missing 3 years. The circumstantial evidence was piling up against Madonna. And more would come in the form of a knife and a gun. The same day that Jose was killed, Madonna had travelled to South Carolina to visit a former in-law. While here, she claimed that she was fearful of somebody breaking into her home, and she was given a knife and a gun, the same weapons that were used to kill Jose. Madonna would subsequently appear in court and plead not guilty to the charge of murder. During the court hearing, it became apparent that she was going to be claiming self-defense.
I mean, it kind of is
the
for
defense attorneys did not elaborate, but they
here.
said that they were going to acknowledge that some kind of altercation transpired between Madonna and Jose, and Madonna was defending herself. On the 14th of September 2015, a jury consisting of 7 men and 5 women were seated, and the murder trial began. During the opening statements, defense attorney Crystal Grimes would state that Madonna had lived a tough and tumultuous life,
either
rife with
boomers
abuse,
or like little kids.
neglect, alcohol dependency, and drug addiction. However, she contended that Madonna did not murder Jose.
It was around this time that Joanna met Jose Perez in recovery. She was recently separated from Chuck, and he was still married at the time. They began a friendship, and as that friendship developed, he left his wife and would ultimately move in with Joanna, her 2 girls, and her father. Early in their relationship, Jose told Joanna that he didn't have long to live, that he was dying of cancer. This would be the first of many lies that Jose would tell Joanna, although at the time she was unaware that he was not being truthful with her.
Yeah,
But
I'm with Quinn on this
and
one.
she began
I
to care for Jose as he lived with them. And she began and grew to love him. And in September 14th, 2009, they were married. Both recently divorced. And there was signs of stress in their relationship at a very early time. Jose started admitting issues with chronic lying. And in 2009, January of 2009, even before they were married, he sought treatment for that. He would tell his counselor that it was destroying his life with his girlfriend and threatening their relationship. Joanna at this point knew that he did not have terminal cancer. He was not dying. But he promised to change and began to go to therapy to address the issues he was having with lying to her. They even attended group therapy.
Okay,
together.
Jose's trash.
And Jose was not a healthy man. He had many ailments, but he was not decrepit. He was not sitting in a chair, not living life. He did a lot of activities. He did housework. He did yard work. He volunteered at the VA. He played with Isabel.
She went on to say that there was no reason for Madonna to want Jose dead, claiming that she only wanted a divorce. She claimed that the murder was self-defense.
She tells him that she is finally asking for a separation, and she's going to drop him off at his sponsor's house, which is within the neighborhood they were in.
Jax the Queer, I don't know why it hasn't popped off yet, but thank you so much for the follow. I noticed it. I noticed you, bud. And you know that feeling you get when you're in a stream and the streamer says your name? That's the feeling I just got from you following my channel. That's such a, what a fucking, I hate that. I hate that one. Let me give you a better one. You know that feeling you get when it's like, it's summer, right? And you're like a little bit bummed that it's not going to be winter anymore and whatever. But then the first thunderstorm of the year happens and there's fireflies outside. That's the feeling that I just got from you following my channel. So thank you so much for being my only good things about summer. All right. Excellent. I am going to continue the video here. I don't know why it didn't pop off, Jax.
We're in, short distance away. She encourages him to go to rehab. He becomes furious. He is screaming at her. And all of a sudden, he tells her that he's about to have a heart attack. He starts clutching his chest, acting as if he's going to have a heart attack. Joanna immediately pulls over. The first place available is a church parking lot. She pulls over. She came back around the back side of the Jeep to find Jose already outside of the vehicle. He had a firearm, and he shot it twice. Luckily, it missed her. And then he turned the gun on himself, and she immediately rushed up to him, and a struggle ensues over the weapon, and Jose is shot. She believed him to be shot once in the face and maybe a graze to his arm. They're no longer arguing. He's talking about walking home, but he's conscious. And Joanna said, "Are you crazy? We've got to get you to the hospital." And she manages to get him in the vehicle, and they head towards the hospital. Once she finally convinces him to go to the hospital, she wanted to go to Wake Med. He insists on going to the VA where he normally gets his medical treatment. So she headed in that direction. And while they're on their way, he's bleeding in the Jeep. He has been shot. He's bleeding, trying to clean out the wound with a soda.
According to defense attorney Grimes, by 2013, Madonna suspected that Jose was drinking again, as well as taking drugs, and she wanted to end the marriage. She said, while he was never physically violent, he was very controlling and very jealous. The prosecution, on the other hand, were going to be providing a polarizing theory.
You'll hear testimony during the course of this trial from crime scene investigators and from law enforcement. They will tell you about how when they served a search warrant on the house
can't believe they thought this would
of the
stick.
defendant and the victim.
Yeah, this is Kika. This is the one that keeps having diarrhea pubes.
Mr. Perez's body was
He's
found.
my baby.
They found in the garbage
I love him so much.
bloody clothes, a zap stick,
understood why
a knife box matching the knife that was found at the scene.
I wish you could know.
And even the defendant's wedding ring.
Because I love you.
You'll also hear how on the day of the murder, she planned a date with a man whom she had recently started a romantic relationship. And how on the next day, on the following day after which Mr. Perez was killed, she in fact went on a date to this gentleman's house. You're also going to hear, folks, about the different stories that the defendant in this case told about what had happened to the victim. Stories that she told his daughter, stories that she told law enforcement, stories that she told an attorney. And you will see through the inconsistencies
I'm sorry,
of the
Bumble
story,
Kitty Store. That's
it will
the
tell
worst.
you what exactly was happening with her at the time that this murder occurred.
Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman said that they would be presenting evidence during the trial to show that Madonna had entered an extramarital affair and had driven to South Carolina shortly before Jose's murder to pick up a weapon that she then used to kill him. Defense Attorney Grimes would counter this statement, claiming that Madonna had travelled to South Carolina not to pick up a murder weapon, but instead to visit family from a previous marriage. She said that when she returned home on the 14th of June, she approached Jose with the subject of divorce, and Jose responded by threatening to take his own life. Memories allegedly came flooding back to Madonna of an ex-partner who had taken his own life after she broke up with him. It was at this moment, at least according to the defense, that Jose and Madonna began to scuffle.
And she comes again, back around the backside of the Jeep. And as soon as she gets around, Jose pushes her on the chest. And she immediately falls to the ground. The wind is completely knocked out of her. And the next thing she realizes is that Jose is on top of her with his right forearm against her throat. And she looks down and notices at that point that he has a knife and that she is bleeding from her arm. And at this point, she can't barely breathe. She's thinking every breath might be her last.
Sure, Jan. Against a feeble
And in that
old
instant,
man.
she knew that she had to fight back or she was going to die. She had never seen someone in so much rage. And by then, luckily, Jose had dropped the knife and she picked it up. And she started using it.
He just happened to drop it?
And she
He
used
just
it,
happened
quite
to
frankly,
drop it.
until she could get up. When she was able to actually get up, she took Jose's shoes off and threw them at the wood line because she was afraid he was going to get up and come after her. She also took the knife
pop a
and
border
threw that
on this
towards
sucker,
the wood line.
I think.
So he couldn't use it against her.
Defense Attorney Grimes detailed how Madonna went into survival mode. She said, she's thinking every breath is her last. Madonna then plunged the knife into Jose.
No, we have to finish the butthole.
According to the defense, accidentally. According to the
one more
prosecution,
row.
purposefully.
I am a big dumb dummy.
The defense team contended that when Madonna left her husband after stabbing him, she was unaware that he had been fatally injured. Prosecutor Freeman would argue during opening statements that Madonna had intended on killing Jose. And after doing so, she went to spend time with John, whom she was having an affair with. She highlighted the fact that when Madonna was first questioned, she didn't mention any argument, any gun, any knife. She simply said that Jose had been cheating on her and left her to travel to Florida. The prosecution theorized that Madonna hadn't been duped into marrying Jose like she had claimed, but instead had married him in part because of the financial benefits he received as a veteran. She and her family, including her 3 daughters, had depended on Jose financially. The prosecution would enter evidence to show that it was Madonna who was being unfaithful with her husband, not the other way around like she had initially claimed to police.
Very awful lies.
They presented a number of text messages between Madonna and her former
some Shannon-ass lies,
John.
am I right?
Text messages that were flirty and inappropriate in nature. After John entered his probationary period with the North Carolina Board of Licensed Professional Counselors, the duo had embarked on a romantic relationship. The text messages between the two varied. Some were simply good morning or good night text messages, while others talked about kissing and what makes a woman sexy. There was also a text message from Madonna to John on the day that Jose was murdered. It ominously read, "It's done.
Ugh.
Another one read, "It got ugly." According to the prosecution, this was a text message indicating that the murder was premeditated.
Why?
According to John, however, he simply thought that the text message meant that Madonna had broken up with Jose. By this point in the trial, it was already known that Madonna had picked up the murder weapon, a knife, from family in South Carolina. Some testimony in regards to this would be presented during trial. William Perez, who had no relation to Jose, told the jury that he was Madonna's former brother-in-law. She had been married to his brother almost 2 decades beforehand. William said that he had reconnected with Madonna and her 2 daughters several years beforehand through Facebook. After that reconnection, they met up several times. In June of 2013, Madonna had come to South Carolina to visit William.
Right, Sperry?
While here, he said that he and Madonna travelled to a pawn shop to price up guns. Here, he noticed that something was a little off with Madonna.
The Fifth Amendment is
Madonna
there
said to
for
William
you,
that she had been
dog.
afraid because break-ins had been occurring in her neighbourhood. However, Prosecutor Freeman said that no such break-ins had taken place. This was simply an excuse to purchase some kind of weapon to then use to kill Jose.
All right, Guido.
While she didn't purchase a gun during this trip, Madonna did talk about purchasing a gun at a later time when she received her paycheck. When William and Madonna returned to his home that afternoon, William's son offered to give Madonna a Taurus 380 handgun from his collection of weapons. The agreement was that Madonna would keep the gun until she purchased her own with her upcoming paycheck, or keep it and pay William's son. He also gave Madonna a knife, believed to be the murder weapon. Madonna would be called to the witness stand to testify on her own behalf. She reiterated the argument of the defence team, that she had killed her husband accidentally and in self-defence. She first of all took the jury through her life, detailing her struggles as a teenager and her drug and alcohol addictions. She then spoke to the jury about her relationship with Jose.
When you first met Jose and you first allowed him to move into your home, that's when he told you he was dying of cancer, correct?
Yes.
And you found out soon thereafter that he was not dying of cancer.
Yeah, I found out within about 3 months that he wasn't dying of cancer.
But you still married him?
I still married him a year later.
Okay. And did you know about him not having any money at that point in time?
I knew he had no money. I had started to figure that out when his car got repossessed, so I knew there was no money, but I loved him.
She claimed to the jury that in 2013, she began to suspect that Jose was having an affair with a woman in Florida. She then found a Facebook message from the woman.
This is the copy that I made of the Facebook between him and her.
And how were you able to get on his Facebook?
He was already logged on when I got on there.
And why did you go through his messages?
It was on the page. Like when I sat down at the computer, it was the screen was on that already.
Okay.
And what did you do to put it into another document?
I copied it.
Would have been a better lie. You should have just been like, because I thought he was having an affair. I saw this as an opportunity to bust him. Hello? Bye, Kiko. Love you. All right, unpausing. Sorry.
And pasted it into a Word document.
And is that document that you created from that?
Salem and shit about lying.
Yes.
It's not good.
And does that fairly and accurately represent the document that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to admit Defense Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Motion allowed.
Ms. Madonna,
I think
it is that
might
message in Spanish or in
be
English?
unwell. Could
It's
somebody
in
please?
Spanish.
And what does
perform
that
a
message
wellness
say in
check?
Spanish?
You want me to read it in Spanish?
Yes.
Or you want me to tell you in English what it means?
I want you to read it in Spanish first.
I can't read Spanish.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, she can't take Spanish. All right, go in English then.
It says, "My love, I hope you have an excellent night and think about me. I love you with all my heart. Take care of yourself and dream about me. Kisses." And then half an hour later or 20 minutes later, she says, "I love you." And then the next thing on there is 7 hours later where I say, "This is Jose's wife. Who are you and why are you sending this to my husband?"
Madonna also said that she had found bottles of rum in the garage on 2 separate occasions. As a recovering alcoholic and drug abuser, Madonna said that she could not live with a man who was drinking, cheating, and lying to her, even though she admitted that she had been having an affair with John at the time.
How did that relationship start out? How did it turn from a therapist relationship into a flirting relationship?
It was actually the day that we were going to play with the band. I was texting the guys, what time are you getting there? What time are we going to unload? And that's kind of what you have to do. You have to stay in touch with each other and figure out who's getting there first and all that. And he asked me something about how's it going, and I said, I'm getting ready, I'm going to file my separation. And he was telling me how he's on these dating sites on the computer, and that I could do that when I was single. And I said, I'm too messed up at this point, I can't even think about that. And he said, well, when you're ready, I want first dibs. And I was shocked. I was thinking, I said to him, you don't want me. I said, I am so messed up. You do not want me. I'm pretty messed up. And he said, you are no more messed up than anybody else. I want first dibs.
According to Madonna, there were several times where she had told Jose she wanted to end the marriage, but each time he would threaten to kill himself if she ever left. Madonna then went on to detail the night in question, describing how she had planned on taking Jose for a drive, breaking up with him, and then dropping him off at a sponsor's home just off NC 98. She displayed very little emotion as she detailed how they stopped at a Sheetz gas station and then at a Family Dollar, where she purchased some nail polish and a candle lighter. From here, Madonna said that Jose became upset when she brought up the separation. She said she told him she knew he was cheating on her and knew that he was drinking again.
And what did he say to that?
He had started initially the way he usually reacts. Joe, I can't live without you. Joe, I love you. You're my whole world. I'll kill myself if you're not here. And I said, this is different. I need you to tell me where Fred lives. I'm taking you to Fred's.
As they drove, Madonna said that Jose asked her to pull over. He was shouting at her in English and Spanish as he clutched his chest.
Yeah, we're driving. We're heading towards, through Youngsville towards Rollsville, which I believe is 98, which is the main way that you get there. And we're talking, and he's getting more and more upset. He's getting more agitated.
Everybody make sure the Bardic Muse feels welcome.
What does he say to you?
He started getting loud.
Yeah, we got some true crime
he starts
going
looking
today.
like he's panicking. And he starts clutching his chest, saying, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have a heart attack. You need to pull over.
Madonna said that they pulled into a church parking lot where they both got out of the car.
I'm not a very good crocheter, though, Bardic Muse.
Side where Jose was, she looked up and said that Jose was pointing a gun at her.
I was in shock. I just stood there for a second, and then he turned the gun on himself, and he had it pointed at his, I'm not sure if he had it pointed under here or where he was pointing it, but he had it pointed at himself. And at that point, I believe he's going to kill himself.
Some merch, hey?
And you said he had fired a shot at you before then?
He fired a shot at me, yep.
And what did you do then when you saw him pointing the gun at himself?
I lunged forward to grab his hand and to pull his hand away from his face. And the gun went off at that point and shot him in the face. And I
Bardic Muse. I love it.
What happened then after you think?
And I grabbed the gun, and the gun went off again. I don't know if that hit him or didn't hit him. I don't know what happened. But that one shot had, he was bleeding. He was bleeding from that shot to his face.
She did not explain where Jose had got the gun from or where it had been while they were in the car. Madonna said that Jose was bleeding from the gunshot wound in his cheek, and he said he was going to walk to the hospital. She said that she managed to get her husband back in the car and she started to drive in the direction of WakeMed. However, she claimed that Jose said he didn't want to go to the hospital.
Hi, baby kitty.
Before adding that if he did, he wanted to go to the Durham Veteran Hospital, where he would be charged less for a visit. She said she didn't ring an ambulance because she had left her phone at home. As they drove, Madonna said that she was blaming herself for what she thought was a suicide attempt. She said that Jose then once again began clutching his chest and asked her to pull over, to which she complied.
I don't know, Pancake.
The spot where they pulled over this time was near where Jose's body was found.
Jose got out again. I got out on my side. He got out on his side. And this time I'm coming around the side, coming around the back again, and he came at me, and I thought that he punched me, but it might have been that he elbowed me, but whatever he did, he knocked me in the chest, and I fell back, and I hit the ground on my back.
What happened then?
He got on top of me.
I'm going to pause it really quick.
Basically, jumped right on top of me.
Bardic Muse, thank you so much for the follow. You know that feeling that you get when your kitty comes on your lap right when you're talking about how cute he is? Yeah, that's the feeling that I got from you following my channel. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the follow. His name is Kika. He's ill. He went to the vet yesterday, but he's getting better. He's definitely being pesty. He's being his normal pesty self. So that's nope, stop it. That's a good prognosis, I think. Poor Kika feel better, but yeah, it's been wild. But he's on the upswing, I think. Okay, oh fuck. I just brought back OBS without unpausing the video.
Of me and was holding me down, and not even really accepting what's happening at this point. And I looked at my arm, and my arm was bleeding, and he's on top of me, and he's got his arm crushed up against my chest over here. And at this point I can't breathe, and I feel like I'm drowning, and I feel like I'm drowning because he's right on top of me, and he's got me compressed, and he's got his arm pressed up against me.
Is that what drowning
feels like? At one point during the altercation,
Madonna?
She said that her arm was cut, but she wasn't sure how.
Did you think you were going to die at that point?
Absolutely.
And do you remember whether it was his right hand or his left hand, or do you?
I don't remember if it was his right hand or his left hand.
Did you ever see that knife in his hand?
I didn't see the knife in his hand.
But you just saw a scratch on your arm and knew that you were bleeding?
Yep, I was bleeding.
And did you think he was going to choke you to death?
Yes, I thought I was going to be choked to death right there. I thought I was dying.
So what did you do?
When I heard him say he was going for Michelle, I looked over. I was able to move my head out, and I saw the knife on the ground over on the left side. And I grabbed the knife, and I started swinging at him.
Next, Madonna said that she saw a knife glimmer within her reach. She didn't explain where this knife had come from or how it had gotten outside the car. She said she grabbed it and began swinging to try and get her husband off her. She said to the jury, I thought I was going to be dying right there. I started swinging at him, and I kept swinging at him until I felt he wasn't holding me down anymore. Madonna alleged that she got up, ran towards the car, and then out of the corner of her eye, she saw Jose pushing himself up off the ground. She claimed that she ran back over to her husband, grabbed his shoes and threw them away, so that he could not chase her, and then threw the knife into the woods somewhere.
You don't like the imagery?
What did you do from there?
She does a really good job.
I
like it a lot.
got in the car, and I started driving home, and I was telling myself he's going to go to
We're
Fred's.
gonna
He's getting up. He's going to go to
more of it.
Fred's.
I love her
Now, you've
style
seen
of
the
covering
wounds
stuff.
that Mr. Perez sustained.
Yes, I did.
And is your testimony to the jury that you thought he still might be getting up?
Yes, I did. I told myself he's getting up. He's going to Fred's. I didn't realize at that point how many times I had stabbed him.
And then that's what you told yourself, that he was going to
I
get
told
up.
myself he was going to get up and go to Fred's.
Were you hopeful that he was going to get up and go to Fred's?
Yes, I was.
Madonna claimed to the jury that she believed that Jose was going to get up and walk to his sponsor's house. However, the jury would learn that she had made phone calls to her middle daughter, asking her to help clean blood out of the Jeep, to which the daughter refused. She also took Jose's phone and texted his friends and family, telling them that he was going to Florida. She tried to excuse these actions by saying, I didn't want people to worry. There were a number of inconsistencies in Madonna's testimony. She claimed that Jose was on top of her after he had shot himself, yet there was no blood on her clothing. She suggested that the blood was dripping on the ground as opposed to on her. Her daughter Rachel said that when her mother returned home, she was wearing shorts and a tank top, but Madonna testified that she was wearing a t-shirt and capri pants. The prosecution contended that Madonna had brought along a spare pair of clothing, hinting at premeditation. The prosecution questioned why, when she got home, did she throw most of Jose's belongings in the trash, including his clothing, his ID cards and more. She said she filled the trash bags, believing that Jose would need them once he came home. The crux of the case was whether or not the jury believed that Madonna killed Jose while defending herself. Questions were raised by Dr. Robert Fowles,
thank you so much.
a primary care physician, who testified that Jose had limited use of his hands, and that he found it unlikely that he could hold a thin knife or a gun. Under cross-examination, the defence pointed out that Jose could use his insulin pen just fine. In addition, Jose had some other serious ailments, such as diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, and chronic back pain. He said that Jose could barely walk without assistance, let alone take part in a frenzied attack.
Right.
Like Madonna had detailed during her testimony.
That is what is killing me.
Dr. Fowles stated, "Judging by how impaired his arms were, I think it would be a real challenge to do that. I wouldn't say impossible, but a real challenge." Madonna's oldest daughter, Rachel, would testify about her mother leaving the home with Jose and returning alone, hot and sweaty and upset, with a gash on her arm. She described the scene to the jury.
Good girl.
She was on the phone. She was kind of sweaty and she had a cut on her arm.
Glad she told the truth.
I asked her what was wrong. I could tell she was upset.
I would have
a hard time. She was just
time.
saying, "It's okay. It's okay."
I think any of us would.
I asked her again, "Mom, what happened?" She said, "Jose got upset with me and he took out his knife and cut my arm." She told the jury that she suggested calling police in case Jose came back, but her mother cryptically responded, "It's okay. He's not coming here." She would deny that she had ever seen Jose be abusive towards her mother.
See him or hear him be abusive, either physically or not, or otherwise, to your mother?
I just remember they would just argue sometimes, but never any physical, nothing ever physical.
Did he ever do anything physically abusive or otherwise abusive to you?
No.
The prosecution would sum up all of the evidence against Madonna during closing arguments. Prosecutor Deborah Shandel said, "All of that blah 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 didn't fit the evidence." She went on to reiterate all of the consistencies in the statements Madonna had made to police and in her testimony during trial, before stating that Madonna can't keep her knees together or her mouth shut.
She stood before you and put her hand on the Bible, and she swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And then she sat in that chair and testified, waved her rosary.
All of that blah 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 didn't fit the yelling police in case Jose came back, but her mother cryptically responded, "It's okay. He's not coming here." She would deny that she had ever seen Jose be abusive towards her mother.
See him or hear him be abusive, either physically or not, or otherwise, to your mother?
I just remember they would just argue sometimes, but never any physical, nothing ever physical.
Did he ever do anything physically abusive or otherwise abusive to you?
No.
The prosecution would sum up all of the evidence against Madonna during closing arguments. Prosecutor Deborah Shandel said, "All of that blah 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 didn't fit the evidence." She went on to reiterate all of the consistencies in the statements Madonna had made to police and in her testimony during trial, before stating that Madonna can't keep her knees together or her mouth shut.
She stood before you and put her hand on the Bible, and she swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And then she sat in that chair and testified, waved her rosary in your faces, and every time her lips moved, another monstrous lie came out. She stabbed, as she said, after picking up the knife with her left hand, and stabbed until she could get out from under Jose. Jose would then have been down on the ground, carotid artery, heart, jaw, arm, hands, lungs, stabbed and bleeding out into the grass. And the defendant thought, per her story, that he'd try to get up and run after her. And here's where those 5 stab wounds in the back come in. All the blood up until then is on his face, neck, front of his shirt, and his pants. You saw the photograph of the nearly bloodless shirt back
that had been pulled up over his head. There wasn't any blood running down his back from those wounds. This tells you about the defendant's intent, about her malice, her deliberation, and her plan. Because once she was free and clear, once Jose had already fatally been wounded, she got out from under him, according to her story, if that happened. And she took that knife, and the only way those wounds on the back of his body got there was that she rammed it into his body 5 more times. Just to be
stop
sure.
Using a lighter to do this.
Defense attorney Deontay Thomas, in his closing arguments, said that Madonna should have picked up the phone and called police.
Yes!
If she had have done that one simple thing, would we even be here right now? He asked. He said that while Jose was a sick man, he was strong enough to attack his wife. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with the verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, your foreperson has returned a verdict in file number 13-CRS-214536, the state of North Carolina versus Joanna Roberta Madonna. We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Joanna Roberta Madonna, to be guilty of first-degree murder. This, the 28th day of September, 2015. Is this your verdict? So say you all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you all agree that that was your verdict, if you'll raise your hand. Structure reflects that all 12 jurors raised their hands.
Joanna Madonna would be found guilty of the first-degree murder of Jose Perez. The jury found that Madonna's actions gave the appearance of a woman who intended on killing her husband, as opposed to a woman who killed her husband out of fear for her own life. As the verdict was read aloud, Madonna showed no emotion, but her oldest daughter, Rachel, broke down in tears and needed to leave the courtroom.
That's really sad.
Jose's daughter, Vanessa, was able to make
girl.
a victim impact statement.
Nothing will bring my dad back. The time taken away from me. From my children. May God have mercy on you.
This is bumming me out pretty hard.
I just ask you to take into consideration.
Madonna would automatically be handed a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Before being formally sentenced, Judge Henry High asked if she had anything to say.
Do you think we
she
should
said
add
no,
more
but thanked the
stitches
judge
to
and
this
the jury
row, guys?
for their time.
What do you guys should we
The
add
final
more
comment that
stitches
the
here?
prosecution had made during closing arguments, that Madonna couldn't keep her knees together or her mouth shut, would result in Madonna moving for an immediate mistrial. She said that the comment was inappropriate and had violated her due process rights. The motion for the mistrial was denied. Joanna Madonna believed that her older and ailing husband would be dead within years of marriage. But when it transpired that this was not the case, she decided to speed up the process and take things into her own hands. The murder of Jose Perez truly highlighted tribulations of two people who were brought together by substance abuse and their determination to stay sober. In the end, it was Jose that paid the ultimate price, his life.
I hope she goes on to talk about her Patreon and stuff, so that if you guys like this, you can go support.
Well, besties, that is it for this episode of Morbidology. As always, thank you so much for listening. I'd like to say a big massive thank you to my amazing new Patreon supporters. Masha, Anne-Marie, Michelle, Brandy, Meg, Caitlin and Candice, Andrea, Amy and Lindsay. I have no idea where you all came from, but I am genuinely so appreciative that you found me and joined me up on Patreon. The support on Patreon really helps the show out.
Check it out. I think that we're going to do another episode. It's still really early. We still have 2 hours of stream left.
Morbidology Plus that aren't on the regular feed. You also get a handwritten thank you card, merch, ad-free and early release episodes, and of course, my undying love. I'd also like to thank my amazing hosting platform, Spreaker. I'm on their Prime program, and their dynamic ads seriously help the show continue. If you want to chat about the show or just all...
Well, that took care of that for a second here. I'm going to pause this here. We're going to do a quick commercial break. Sperry, I hadn't considered that. I do wonder if Sperry, for the people listening, says, I do wonder if there were other people involved they missed because she was too obvious. Like her shit-ass lies take a new light if she's covering for her gross therapist boyfriend. Agree. Like, he obviously did give her the knife and gun, right? Like, we know that. Also, the video makes sense now that I see it's a podcast, not intended as a TV show. Yeah, it totally is a podcast. And she did apparently stab a man to death without getting covered in blood. Yeah. That was one of the most pathetic defenses I've ever heard. You guys, I'm thinking that we're definitely, if it's like being played live anywhere, I'm thinking that we're definitely during the Parkland shooter trials. We're just going to be watching those. And that's like what I will be streaming during that time. And I am eager to hear what his defense is. I feel like it's going to be a lot like this. I mean, obviously it can't be the same for a school shooting that he's caught red-handed for, right? But, you know what I mean. Like, I feel like it's going to be really horribly put together. I wonder if her lawyer is embarrassed. Her lawyer should be embarrassed for letting that story go on the stand, IMO. Anyway, we're going to run a quick commercial. I'm going to find another one to watch really fast. Everybody hang tight. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. y'all. Howdy, howdy. How are we? Oh, cool. I came 27 seconds into a song and couldn't have just gotten here a little bit earlier. Sorry. Hi. It would be so sick if you guys would tweet out the stream and help me out, get some buds in here. It would make me so, so happy. No pressure if you don't have Twitter or you don't want to, but like if you felt like it, if you think that any of your followers might enjoy the vibes here, might have something to contribute to the true crime side of things, it would be so, so fun to have your friends here with us. So please, by all means, feel free. Please, by all means, feel free. Okay, so we're pretty close to done with this. I'm going to get to here, and then we're going to put a loop on it, and I'm going to not make the tail too short next time. Anyway, I found another one that we're going to do here. It is called something House of Horrors. The Blackstone House of Horrors. Anything that's described as a house of horrors, yeah, that's going to be fucked up, and I'm here for it. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I don't want to take too much away from her at once. So this is the last one of Morbidology that we'll be doing for tonight, because otherwise I'm going to feel like I'm like stealing. Hey, anyway, we will do like JCS or something if there's still time left after this one. I would love to see 4 readies in chat before I go forward. House of Horrors sounds like my SIG's life. Yeah. Mine is the House of Whores. I'm too proud of that. I'm sorry. Okay, that's one. That's one ready. 2, 3. Did I ask for 3 or 4? Just give me one more. Just give me one more. Come on, guys. Just one more of you. Hell yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, no, it's muted.
Makes it simple to me.
Start it over. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay, bringing out OBS.
Today's sponsor is Care Of, which is a wellness brand that makes it simple to maintain health goals with a customized vitamin plan. All of their products are formulated with clean ingredients backed by science. They're super transparent about the research and sourcing behind each product. You do an online quiz at careof.com about your diet, lifestyle, and health concerns to help address your specific wellness goals. I took the quiz because I needed some vitamins that could help my skin, hair, and brain. They recommended a number of vitamins, including vegetarian collagen to help improve my skin, vegetarian omega to help improve my hair,
I'm definitely
and American
start taking hair,
ginseng
skin, nails,
to help with my
soon.
short-term memory, as well as a couple of others.
I'm starting
Once
to
you
see
get
my
your
age.
recommendations, they come in daily individual
Illegal
wrap
Exy, thank you
packets.
so much.
It takes the
Welcome. Everybody
hassle
make sure
out
that
of
Illegal
purchasing
Exy feels
numerous
welcome.
bottles of vitamins.
Illegal executable?
Also, if you prefer taking powders, you can also select those instead. It couldn't be any simpler to take control of your health with Care Of. And Morbidology listeners get a special promo code. For 50% off your first Care Of order, go
Maybe
to
I'll order through her when it's time for me to
takecareof.com
fucking get some of
and
that
enter
shit,
code
hey?
Morbidology50. That is promo code Morbidology50
I have
at
no idea,
takecareof.com.
Dumpling Mama, I'm not gonna lie. My short-term memory is
Before we
fucking
get started
garbage,
with
too.
today's
My
episode,
focus is just
I'd like to take a second to talk about the podcast
No
Follow
good at
Friday.
all.
It's a weekly podcast hosted by Eric Johnson, where he speaks with internet creators that he admires. As podcast fans, I'm sure you all have your own favourite internet creators, whether it be a podcast host or even
Do
a
you,
writer or
chat?
YouTuber. The internet is made
I'm
up
just
of
kidding, I'm just
millions
kidding,
of
I'm
people, but each person's internet is completely different, because we all like different things and we all follow different people. That's where Follow Friday comes in. Each week, Eric chats with an internet creator about who they like to follow online. It's the perfect podcast for finding out what other people in the world are up to, and to find new people to follow. Eric gives his guests a list of categories such as someone who makes you laugh, or someone who inspires you. And then his guest picks
Too little,
four
too late,
people who fit
Matthew.
into the categories. It's a real
Sorry,
feel-good
bud.
podcast, and help me find
Lion's mane
Scout
mushrooms
Tube
are also
Network,
supposed to be
which is
fucking
an amazing
incredible
YouTube that
tasting. They're
makes
supposed to
Scout
be super
covers.
yummy.
So if you want to listen,
okay, welcome
head
back,
on
Leslie.
over
We're
to
just starting a brand new
followfridaypodcast.com,
story.
or just search for Follow Friday
Saw
in
true
your
crime
favorite
and hopped in
podcast
immediately.
app.
Fuck, I need to rename the stream. Matt, can you rename the stream? Do you know? Do you have those capabilities? Can you just change it to Blackstone House of Horrors where it said Jose Perez murder? Or murder of Jose Perez? Do you know if you can? If not, I might be able to just do it. No, I won't be able to do it on my phone. Fuck. I'll have to do a whole thing.
Welcome
but that's
to
okay.
Morbidology, the podcast. I'm your host, Emily G. Thompson, author of Unsolved Child Murders, Cults Uncovered, and co-author of Unsolved Murders, True Crime Cases Uncovered. Join me weekly as I uncover some of the world's most heinous murders.
This track is fucking sick. I wonder if she commissioned this or if it's royalty free or what. But
Blackstone
it's
is a town of less than 10,000 near the Rhode Island border in Massachusetts. It's a quaint suburban area away from the hustle and bustle of city life in Boston, which is just 50 miles away. On a quaint street just 4 blocks away from the local police station sat an unassuming
Thank you, Matt.
Cape Cod
Appreciate you.
style home. However, what went on behind those closed doors would traumatize even the most seasoned detectives. It was the 28th of August, 2014, when authorities were alerted to a home in St. Paul Street, Blackstone, Massachusetts. The neighbor of the family who lived in said home contacted authorities to report that the 10-year-old boy living there had come to her and asked her how to get a baby to stop crying. The neighbor followed the boy over to the house, and when she went in, she first of all noticed the putrid smell and the squalid conditions. She found a 6-month-old baby lying on a bed covered in feces and maggots. In another room, she found a 3-year-old boy in the same condition.
Okay, this one's gonna be
Small
very
handprints and
sad.
feces were dotted across the walls. There were no adults around. The neighbor had moved into the neighborhood around a year earlier, and her son had played with the 10-year-old boy on occasion, although her son had never been inside the house. The neighbor had no idea that there were other children inside the home. Never mind children who were being so horrifically neglected. The neighbor immediately called police.
Hi. I was just going to see if I could have somebody come over to 23 St. Paul Street.
Okay, what's going on?
I got a phone call from my son. He came over to his friend's house to do something, and he was really upset and kept telling me that the babies, that the babies wouldn't stop crying, and his friend's mom is out of town. She left this morning.
Yeah.
There's no one else here, and they've been at my house all day, and I just figured out that there's babies inside this house. I'm here now. They're covered in urine and feces. There's no electricity in the house. Sorry, I'm a little sick up.
What is your name, please?
And I live right around the corner. The little boy who lives here is friends with my son.
Okay, so your son is friends with one of us that lives there?
The little boy, his name is Hi. Comes over to the house to play. I've never been to his house before. I met his mother recently, yesterday, and she had asked if he could come over this morning and hang out at our house because she was going away. Yeah. And I said yes. He's been at our house all day, and I just left to go to Bellingham, and he called me and said, I can't get the baby to stop crying. Well, there's kids here. There's like little babies here.
Oh, my God.
They've been here all day. There's no one here.
Okay, and
there's no electricity. There's dirty diapers.
Is there an apartment number? No, it's just a house. It's a house. Okay, 23 St. Paul Street. It's like right here, right next door. Yeah. I'm going to send them over right now. Do I touch these babies, or what am I doing? Can I pick these babies up, or is that... I don't know what to do. I'm going to send the officers right over, okay? Okay, I'll just wait. Okay, bye. Bye.
They told her not to pick the babies up, so she stood in between the two rooms, attempting to comfort them both from a distance. When she asked the 10-year-old boy who the babies belonged to, he said that a friend of his mother had dropped them off. When police arrived at the home, they found 4 children, ages 13, 10, 3, and 6 months old, living in filthy conditions. As mentioned, the 2 youngest were covered in feces and maggots, and the bed that the 3-year-old was lying on was so soiled that it had sunk in the middle. He was soaking wet from urine. The 4 children were removed from the home and placed into state custody. After the children had been removed from the home, 31-year-old Erica Murray showed up. She was the mother of the children. Bill Walsh, a 20-year veteran police officer, said that he had believed that he had seen everything in his career, but this completely traumatized him. Speaking with the Boston Herald, he said, "When Erica showed up at the house that day, I told her the children had been removed and the house was sealed off." He said that Erica didn't inquire about the children, but instead asked about her cat. She was concerned that her cat, who was an indoor cat, had gotten out of the house as police searched. Erica had grown up in a rural home located along a busy road in Northbridge.
Honestly, I would be
It was the same home that her father, Kevin Murray, had been raised.
Cats over kids.
Erica had been an average little girl. She liked to play baseball and hide and seek with her 2 older brothers, and she enjoyed swimming in their above-ground swimming pool. Her mother, Sharon Murray, spent much of her time crafting, while her father worked as a mechanic. Their neighbours would describe them as a regular family. As a teenager, Erica cared about her appearance. She liked to get makeovers and manicures. She attended Northbridge High School and got a job in McDonald's. The description of Erica's family when she was growing up was a lifetime away from the description of Erica as an adult. After conducting interviews with the 2 oldest children inside Erica's home,
thank you for trying, Matt. I appreciate it a lot.
Investigators got a search warrant to search the home even further. When they returned, what they would discover would traumatize even the most hardened officers. They found the bodies of 3 babies, surrounded among vermin, trash, and soiled diapers. Erica was arrested on charges relating to the living conditions in the home, but no criminal charges were filed against her. District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. said that they were not yet sure how the infants had died, nor did he know their genders or ages. He said that the home was in such squalid conditions that it would take a few days for it to be searched. They weren't yet sure if any other bodies would be found. The investigators searching the home had to wear hazardous material suits, and they said that in addition to the horrid condition the home was in, it was filled with vermin. In some areas of the home, they found used diapers piled up to 2 feet high. Investigators would find the remains of several animals, including cats and dogs. But no more human remains would be discovered.
Very bad. I have depression.
The following day, Erica was further charged with fatal death concealment out of wedlock, witness intimidation, misleading a police officer, animal cruelty, violating a restraining order, and permitting substantial injury to a child. She pleaded not guilty and was ordered to be held without bail. During the brief hearing, a court-appointed defense lawyer, Keith Halpern, suggested that Erica was mentally ill. He stated, "You want answers in circumstances like this. Mental illness doesn't always provide those kinds of answers."
That's true.
Investigators have to wear protective suits to go into the house, and she was living in there.
Yeah, you heard that correctly.
Who would live in there if they weren't mentally ill? Following the hearing, the investigation quickly focused on who the deceased children were and how they had met their demise. The two oldest living children that had been removed from the home were the children of Erica, but no birth records existed for the two youngest. Despite this, investigators believed that Erica was the mother to all of the children, both dead and alive. In regards to the three deceased children, two of them appeared to be newborns and one was an infant. A medical examiner would need to determine whether the two newborns were born alive, or whether they had been stillbirths.
Were you playing
Investigators would soon enough announce that the three children had died at different periods of time, as opposed to all together. As news of the grim discovery swept through the area,
this is crazy.
Neighbours were horrified. Marilyn Soisey, who had lived in the neighbourhood for 35 years, said that she was in complete and utter shock. She said, "I am so disgusted. It hasn't really registered in my head yet. My husband and I raised 7 children.
All right,
We have 11 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
So
I
bad.
cannot imagine ever
so
hurting a
misshapen.
child." She said that she and her husband, Bob, very rarely saw Erica or her long-term boyfriend, Ray Rivera, who had lived in the home for the past 3 years. She said she rarely saw the children either, but had seen the 10-year-old boy playing outside on some occasions. Neighbours were left wondering if there was something they missed or something more they could have done. Some neighbours said that they had noticed that the shades were always drawn, and some had even noticed a foul smell wafting from inside the home. One neighbour spoke with WMCT.
I got the phone call from my children saying, "Mom, the police and the detectives are next door, and they're taking the kids." And I went, "What?" In disbelief, you know what I mean? I said, "Okay." I said, close the blinds, do what you, just stay in the house. Don't go in, go and disrupt anything." And I said to them, I got home and they were like, "Mom, the kids are gone." And I'm like, "What?" And I said, "All right, I'll go over and talk to the neighbor." And I offered the neighbor to help the neighbor.
I need to back this up a bunch.
It's pine soil and paper towels.
I'm very
and rags
sorry.
Let's get in there and do what we got to do.
I'm very
bring
sorry
these kids
for anybody
back
that's
home.
been like really, really well listening.
That's when she told me. She says,
I'm going to back it up. I'm going to back it up about
sick
5
and twisted
minutes.
Than we both want to know at this point. And
I'm
I was
so
like,
sorry,
"What?"
everybody.
The description
Just
of Erica's
trying to find a
family
pattern
when she
and
was
stuff
growing
to do.
up was a lifetime away from the description of Erica as an adult. After conducting interviews with the 2 oldest children inside Erica's home, investigators got a search warrant to search the home even further. When they returned, what they would discover would traumatize.
Yeah, Bardic Mass, if you think of
even the
it,
most
let me
hardened
know because I
officers.
definitely want
They found
to
the
read about
bodies
that.
of
I'm
3
hanging in there, Mog.
babies,
Thanks for asking.
surrounded among vermin, trash, and soiled diapers. Erica was arrested on charges relating to the living conditions in the home, but no criminal charges were filed against her. District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. said that they were not yet sure how the infants had died, nor did he know their genders or ages. He said that the home was in such squalid conditions that it would take a few days for it to be searched. They weren't yet sure if any other bodies would be found.
Okay,
The
wait, so
investigators
how many
searching the
babies,
home
how
had to
many
wear
dead
hazardous
kids did they
material
find? I
suits.
keep missing it.
And they said that
I'm so sorry. I'm like just focusing on fucking the wrong shit here. One more time, 30 seconds. So sorry.
they found the bodies of 3 babies,
3.
surrounded among vermin, trash, and soiled diapers. Erica was arrested on charges relating to the living conditions in the home, but no criminal charges were filed against her. District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. said that they were not yet sure how the infants had died, nor did he know their genders or ages. He said that the home was in such squalid conditions that it would take a few days for it to be searched. They weren't yet sure if any other bodies would be found. The investigators searching the home had to wear hazardous material suits, and they said that in addition to the horrid condition the home was in, it was filled with vermin. In some areas of the home, they found used diapers piled up to 2 feet high. Investigators would find the remains of several animals, including cats and dogs, but no more human remains would be discovered. The following day, Erica was further charged with fatal death concealment out of wedlock, witness intimidation, misleading a police officer, animal cruelty, violating a restraining order, and permitting substantial injury to a child. She pleaded not guilty and was ordered to be held without bail. During the brief hearing, a court-appointed defense lawyer, Keith Halpern, suggested that Erica was mentally ill. He stated, "You want answers in circumstances like this. Mental illness doesn't always provide those kinds of answers. Investigators have to wear protective suits to go into the house, and she was living in there. Who would live in there if they weren't mentally ill?" Following the hearing, the investigation quickly focused on who the deceased children were and how they had met their demise. The two oldest living children that had been removed from the home were the children of Erica, but no birth records existed for the two youngest. Despite this, investigators believed that Erica was the mother to all of the children, both dead and alive. In
4
regards
alive
to the 3
kids,
deceased children,
3 dead kids?
2 of them appeared to be newborns and 1 was an infant. A medical examiner would need to determine whether the 2 newborns were born alive, or whether they had been stillbirths. Investigators would soon enough announce that the 3 children had died at different periods of time, as opposed to all together. As news of the grim discovery swept through the area, neighbors
I'm gonna
were
pause
horrified.
this super quick.
Marilyn Soisey.
This is horrifying. Okay, there's some words this lady says, certain words that throw me for a loop. Yeah. She's Irish. No, I think you had it right, Kudo? There are 2 infants and a possible stillborn. Oh, you mean 2 possible stillborns and an infant. Okay, I get what you mean. No, I got you. Magical Mog. Sorry, guys, that you're having a hard time. This is the last one that we're gonna be doing for today. But yeah, I don't have that much of a problem understanding. I'm so sorry. I love her accent, actually. Oh no, I love it. It just requires a bit of focus. Yeah, fair enough. I usually I have a really hard time when somebody has a thick accent because my ears just suck anyway, but I'm not having that hard of a time with her. Really quickly, put a 1 in chat if we should do a scarf. Put a 2 in chat if we should do a hat. We've got 1 for scarf and 1 for hat. I'm counting that for hat, Mog. Combo scarf hat, I vote 3. No, guys, help me. Okay, now we have 2 for scarf and 2 for hat. I need some tiebreakers. Okay, more for scarf than hat. We're keeping on. How about a ski mask? I actually have the beginning of a ski mask downstairs. No joke. Like, no joke. And it is basket weave stitch, which is the stitch that I'm going to be doing right now. That's so funny. Anyway, I crochet a lot.
Who had lived in the neighborhood for 35 years, said that she was in complete and utter shock. She said, "I am so disgusted. It hasn't really registered in my head yet. My husband and I raised 7 children. We have 11 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. I cannot imagine ever hurting a child." She said that she and her husband, Bob, very rarely saw Erica or her long-term boyfriend, Ray Rivera, who had lived in the home for the past 3 years. She said she rarely saw the children either, but had seen the 10-year-old boy playing outside on some occasions. Neighbours were left wondering if there was something they missed or something more they could have done. Some neighbours said that they had noticed that the shades were always drawn, and some had even noticed a foul smell wafting from inside the home. One neighbor spoke with WMCT.
I got the phone call from my children saying, Mom, the police and the detectives are next door, and they're taking the kids. And I went, what? In disbelief, you know what I mean? I said, okay. I said, close the blinds, do what you, just stay in the house. Don't go in, go and disrupt anything. And I said to them, I got home and they were like, Mom, the kids are gone. And I'm like, what? And I said, all right, I'll go over and talk to the neighbor. And I offered the neighbor to help the neighbor. I said, as a community, we put pine soil and paper towels and rags and let's get in there and do what we got to do, bring these kids back home. Well, that's when she told me, she says, thanks for the offer, but I think it's a little more sick and twisted than we both want to know at this point. And I was like, what?
While Erica's boyfriend, Ray, lived at the home with Erica and the children, he wasn't arrested or charged with anything.
Why?
Erica's lawyer would soon announce that he's optimistic that a forensic examination would show that the babies were stillborn and therefore hadn't been harmed or murdered by Erica. He also said he expected the DNA testing to show that Erica and Ray were the parents of said babies. He further revealed to the Boston Globe that Erica told him that she had secretly given birth to the two youngest children that were found in the home because she was afraid after Ray had told her that he didn't want any more children after the first two. He said that Erica tried to conceal the fact that the two youngest children were hers, and apparently told Ray that she was simply babysitting them.
Oh my God.
Defense lawyer Keith Halpern told the Associated Press that Erica was fearful throughout all of the pregnancies, and said that he wasn't sure yet how much of the fear was attributed to Erica's mental health issues, and how much was due to genuine concern.
How had I
He
not
said,
heard of this before?
This terror just controlled her. She couldn't figure out how to get out of the prison she had created for herself. She is clearly mentally ill, because the lengths to which she went to try and hide these children, no one in their right mind would have done this. He refused to elaborate any further on why Erica was seemingly afraid of Ray, and refused to comment on what Erica had told him about the 3 dead babies. At the time of the discovery, the Department of Children and Families was already under intense scrutiny. They'd been lambasted because a 5-year-old boy disappeared the year beforehand, and his disappearance went unnoticed for months, even though the boy's family had been monitored by the Department of Children and Families for years. An investigation into that case would reveal that social workers had missed visits and other failed opportunities to engage with the children. The discovery in the home in Blackstone had led to questions as to whether the Department of Children and Families had missed an opportunity to save the children.
I need to pause. How could they know? How could they didn't even know that these children existed. She never told anybody that they were born. She was hiding the children. She just gave birth to them in her filthy house. I do think that the CPS failure is disgusting. Do not get me wrong. I think that CPS needs much, much more money than they get. And I think that those social workers are incredibly overworked. And I don't think that that's an excuse for shitty work. No, the CPS is about another case. They are saying, right, I understand that. No, I know. But, they're saying that this... people are saying, okay, seriously, CPS fucked up because they missed this entire house. But, how would they know? Bro, have these people never heard of just leaving a baby at a fire station? That's a thing, isn't it? That literally is a thing. Is this a different cat? I have 3. This one is Monstro. He's my special boy. He's developmentally delayed. So if he acts all funky, you'll know why. He's my special baby boy. I love him very much. He's very sweet. He's also the prettiest cat I've ever seen in my life. His sister Sparta just walked in. His name is Monstro, by the way. We also call him Mankey. And then Sparta just came in too, and she's tiny and beautiful as well. She's getting kind of fat though. She used to be 4 pounds. Now she's like almost 6 pounds on a teeny tiny frame. Wait, I'm missing kitty time? You did miss kitty time. Kitty time is over. Man, I don't want to talk about CPS. I can't promise that the podcast won't anymore, but we'll stop talking about CPS if it makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, she was appropriately weighted at 4 pounds because of how small her frame is. All right, unpausing. Let's go.
They acknowledged that in 2007 they had received a report of abuse or neglect in regards to the Murray family, but the report was unsupported, so no case was ever opened against the family. They said that the only issues they found in the home were dirty carpets with no evidence of abuse or neglect. A further investigation into the background of the family would show that from 2010 to 2012, there had been complaints about trash and debris piling up outside the house. Further investigation would reveal that the 2 oldest children had been enrolled as 3rd and 7th graders at Blackstone Millville School the year beforehand.
A bigger hook.
But they never enrolled in the school system.
I'm gonna go get
the current
bigger
year.
hook. Everybody hang tight for
With
just
the children
a
not
second.
in
I'll be
school,
right
many
back.
people
I'm
wonder
so sorry I have to
why
pause
something wasn't flat.
But enjoy a... Actually, it's ad time. It's ad time. We'll be right back. All right, I'm back. And just really quickly, I just got to shout out my fucking liberal agenda here really quick. I'm not kidding. I just want to say, I don't think that CPS workers can just be forgiven for falsifying records and missing visits and stuff like that. I don't think that. But we do need to support giving them more money. We need to support giving them more money so that they can do better. It's devastating that kids have to die because corporations are greedy and run the government. It's devastating. You're a victim of false CPS records? I'm so sorry, Mog. You don't deserve that. No child deserves that. They definitely do need improvement. There needs to be checks and balances, and there needs to be lots more money going towards our fucking country's future. It is, it's devastating. Like, I hate any politician that tries to take money away from social programs and favors tax cuts for the wealthy. Like, it just makes me mad. Good night, Leslie. Have a good one. Anyway, this is obviously a case of, like, CPS workers that couldn't. And I'm not saying that they're off the hook for this. I'm just saying that, like, I've known social workers, and social workers have too many cases. They are given too many cases to be able to keep up. And instead of falsifying records, what they should do is say, I couldn't get to this child. And if enough of them do that, they're not going to be able to fire people for it. As progressive leftist as they come. That's what I meant. Sorry. I guess I don't know the real terms anymore because people used to shit on me for being a liberal. I'm left. I'm very far left. I'm lefter than left. And that's just true. And I don't... We don't have to talk about it. I'm going to back the podcast up a little bit. Just like a minute. Do the places they send children are horrible? My dad and stepmom fostered kids, and hearing some of their stories was devastating. Devastating. I've heard dark stories. Anyway. Is this a fucking Christmas jam? It's called Oasis Skyline. It sounds like a Christmas jam. Okay, here we go. I keep trying to open it, and you don't need to hear my fucking behind the scenes sausage is made bullshit. Never mind, nothing. I keep trying to open the wrong browser is the long and the short of it. All right. Backed it up about 1 minute. Here we go. Sorry if I come off on the other side. I think CPS is needed and funding is a big part of why they have issues. No, we're with you. We agree with you entirely. Entirely. Yeah, I think that workers are incentivized by the system to falsify records as opposed to report that they were unable to visit those children. I think that that's what's going on. And it's not okay. We don't lie when child's lives are at stake. We get fired. It's unfortunate, but that's what you do when a child's life is at stake. You will find another job. There is no bringing that child back from the dead. There are multiple issues. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think that this is the biggest issue that plagues social workers. I'm not from within the system, but I do have an intimate look at it. I know social workers. Again, my dad and stepmom were foster parents. Yeah. Anyway, I do not want to come across as like toe-steppy or like I am trying to diminish the things that you have been through. So I hope I haven't. Unpausing.
Families for years. An investigation into that case would reveal that social workers had missed visits and other failed opportunities to engage with the children. The discovery in the home in Blackstone had led to questions as to whether the Department of Children and Families had missed an opportunity to save the children. They acknowledged that in 2007 they had received a report of abuse or neglect in regards to the Murray family, but the report was unsupported, so no case was ever opened against the family. They said that the only issues they found in the home were dirty carpets with no evidence of abuse or neglect. A further investigation into the background of the family would show that from 2010 to 2012, there had been complaints about trash and debris piling up outside the house. Further investigation would reveal that the two oldest children had been enrolled as 3rd and 7th graders at Blackstone Millville School the year beforehand, but they never enrolled in the school system the current year. With the children not in school, many people wondered why something wasn't flagged
I have heard
sooner.
of them. I'm not intimately
Many people were also
familiar.
wondering why Ray hadn't been charged with anything. He lived in the home and was likely the father
Your mom
of
sounds
all
like a
of the
good lady.
children. Harris defense attorney Keith Halpern
this
spoke
was
with the
a
Boston Herald and said that Ray was aware of the deplorable conditions, stating, he lived in the house. They shared a bedroom. There were reports that Ray lived in the basement of the home, and Ray claimed that he had no knowledge of the deceased babies, or even of the 2 youngest children. But as defense Halpern said, he did not live exclusively in that basement. I think the notion that he barricaded himself in the basement and did not know what the rest of the house looked like is absurd. He revealed more information about the couple, who by this point were a complete and utter enigma. He said that Erica had become pregnant with Ray's child when she was a senior in high school. During the pregnancy, Ray moved in with Erica at her parents' home. Erica later became pregnant once again, and during this pregnancy, they moved into a 3-bedroom home in St. Paul Street, which was owned by Ray's sister. Then Ray's sister and her family moved out, but they allowed Erica and Ray to stay in the home. A candlelight vigil was held in memory of the 3 babies at John F. Kennedy Elementary School soccer field on Lincoln Street. Around 200 people gathered, and 3 heart-shaped balloons were released in memory of the 3 babies. Reverend Ruth Blaze, who was pastor of the local church, asked those in attendance not to just pray for the 3 deceased babies, but to also pray for Erica. Meanwhile, Erica was moved to a unit in the jail for inmates who could pose a danger to themselves.
She hardly sounds like a Christian
while
at
the
all.
workers in hazmat suits remained at the home attempting to clean it. A dead dog and a dead cat were found on the 2nd floor, while drywall from one room had to be completely removed due to feces contamination. Outside of the home, a makeshift memorial was building up, as locals brought flowers, candles, teddy bears, and trinkets. The day after the funeral, Blackstone police released police log entries for the home and stated that they had been called to the home in the past for various reasons, but never had a reason to check the conditions inside the home. In August of 2011, police and an animal control officer responded to a call from a concerned neighbour about the condition of a dog in the backyard. They said that based on the conditions found at the scene, they had no reason to enter the home.
Yes,
when the conditions
they
of
did,
the house
Mog.
were finally uncovered, the dog was found inside. It was a small bloodhound dog and was extremely emaciated and covered in fleas. She was taken to the Medfield Animal Shelter, where she made a full recovery and was adopted out. A cat named Amy was also found inside the house, and she too made a full recovery and was adopted out. The staff at Medfield Animal Shelter said that they believed that the 2 pets were very likely the only comfort for the children inside the home. Shelter manager Jacqueline Walters said, "This might have been one of the only normal things in their lives, that they had a pet. All the horrors they must have seen in that house. This was normalcy, and this was a confidant." The search of the home would additionally uncover that Ray had been growing and selling marijuana out of the basement. He was arraigned on charges of possession of a Class D substance, possession with intent to distribute a Class D substance, and cultivation of marijuana. They had located magazine labels, shipping labels, and a vehicle registration, all with Ray's name on them, in the basement. Erica had told the investigators that she very rarely went into the basement, and as mentioned earlier, Ray claimed that he rarely went into the house, instead spending all of his time in the basement. The final cleanup bill of the home would be a whopping $20,000, and it would be incurred by the owner of the house. According to state law, the house was owned by Christina Rivera, the sister of Ray. Blackstone health officials wanted to tear the house down, with Code Enforcement Officer Bill Walsh stating, "It's just a black hole in Blackstone. I don't see any other option." He said that despite the exhaustive clean-up effort, the stench from the home still remained. Members of the town's Board of Health said that they would be meeting with select men to discuss what to do about the house. Ultimately, it would be up to the Board of Health to decide the fate of the home, and they would decide to tear the house down, with Board Chairman William Walsh saying that the strong odour inside the home would never be suitable for habitation. Christina was served with a notice that she must demolish the home, and it was speculated that it would cost around $12,000. This meant that Christina had a hefty $32,000 fee to pay for the actions of her brother and Erica.
That's so lame.
Christina had a deadline to present the town with a plan to demolish the house.
Poor lady.
But she failed to show up. This meant that the town would be placing a lien on the property to recoup the cost, and they would be tearing the home down themselves. On the 21st of October, the home was demolished. Shortly thereafter, Erica was in court for a bail hearing. During the hearing, prosecutors revealed that they believed that at least 2 of the deceased babies had been alive for some period of time before they were discovered. They said that one baby had a full head of hair and had been discovered stuffed inside a backpack in a closet in an upstairs bedroom. The other 2 babies were discovered in another closet in the bedroom which the 2 oldest children shared.
Oh my God.
Both of these babies were found wearing diapers and clothing, which led investigators to speculate that they were alive at one point and that they hadn't been stillborn. By this point, they still hadn't received the medical examiner's report and weren't yet sure how the babies had died or what age they were. It was further revealed that the 5-month-old and the 3-year-old had been profoundly neglected and severely malnourished, adding that neither had ever been outside, and the 3-year-old could not walk or feed herself. A pediatrician said the 3-year-old had spent the majority of her life on her back and could not use her arms. He further stated that Erica had admitted to giving birth to all of her children, except the oldest 2, on the floor of her bathroom. The judge ordered Erica to be held on $1 million cash bail. A number of people who knew Erica said that they only knew about the 2 oldest children, the 13-year-old and the 10-year-old. They said that they began to notice that Erica started to wear baggy clothing, had become dishevelled, and very rarely left the house. She only kept in touch with some family members over the phone. They believed that maybe Erica was embarrassed by her unkempt house, so they didn't push her into inviting them over or meeting each other in person. According to Erica's lawyer, it was when Erica became pregnant for a 3rd time.
Yeah, she definitely
her fragile
was
grasp
medically
on reality
unwell.
began to decay.
Mentally. Sorry.
However, there were times when Erica did venture out of the house and did appear to be somewhat of a normal mother. Neighbours said that they had seen Erica waiting at the bus stop with her 2 oldest children as they were going to school. She did the weekly shop at the local supermarket. Earlier in the year, Erica and Ray hosted their 10-year-old son's birthday at a Pines Entertainment, where they had pizza and cake and played laser tag and arcade games. Somebody in attendance said that Erica and Ray appeared to be very affectionate with one another and appeared to be completely normal. After the 4 children were taken away, The two oldest were sent to live with Ray's mother in another town. They were enrolled in school and lived in a large home with a basketball hoop and a swimming pool.
I don't know what lasagna cat is.
There was a stark difference to the conditions inside the home in Blackstone. The two youngest children were placed in foster care.
Do they not know what
Today's
causes
episode
pregnancy?
is sponsored by Turbo
Debt. I wouldn't be surprised
if you
that
have
was
over
the case here.
$10,000 in credit cards, personal loans, medical or payday loans, then Turbo Debt can help you. Do you ever feel like no matter how hard you're working, you can't seem to get ahead? Sadly, a lot of people are simply working to pay their bills and to keep afloat. And a lot of people are relying on high-interest credit cards just to survive. Banks don't care, they are wanting to keep you in debt because they only make money when you pay interest. That's where Turbo Debt comes in. They will give you options to break the debt cycle and start putting money back in your own pocket. Head on over to turbodebt.com/morbid or click the link in my show notes for a free consultation today. That is turbodebt.com/morbid.
Front post, not front loop.
Is there something interfering with your happiness, or are you apprehensive about reaching out for help? BetterHelp is here to help you, and they're today's sponsor of Morbidology. BetterHelp is not self-help, it's professional counselling available to you online or over the phone. BetterHelp is more affordable and accessible than traditional offline counselling, and they offer financial aid.
Should not be
Sadly, sometimes traditional offline counselling is not locally available for everybody.
Yeah, you're not
but BetterHelp is available for clients worldwide. They have licensed professional counselors specializing in a broad variety of areas, including depression, sleeping, self-esteem, grief, and much more. Everything you share with your counselor is confidential, and they are matched to your specific needs.
Yeah,
I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/morbidology. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's betterhelp.com/morbidology.
Yeah.
Towards the end of October, Defense Halpern stated that Erica had told him that she had given birth to her 3 babies in the years between the births of her 10-year-old son and her 3-year-old daughter. She said that one of the babies was born alive and had lived for several days. She allegedly claimed to her lawyer that she placed the baby down for a nap in the bassinet, and when she returned an hour or two later, the baby was dead. Defense Halpern stated that the fact that the babies were found clothed did not necessarily mean that they were born alive or lived for any period of time. What was evidently going on behind closed doors was a stark difference to what Erica had portrayed
at like their
on
little
her social
lungs
media.
that they breathed
Shortly
air
before the horrors began to unfold, Erica posted a photograph of something she had cooked, as well as a birthday update for her daughter, which read, "It's official, I have a teenager. Happy birthday, I love you so much." She had also shared a missing person post for a 2-year-old in West Philadelphia, and ironically had posted a status which read, "Some people should not be parents." In early November, Ray finally spoke publicly about the case. During a brief court hearing, he said that he was unaware of the inhumane and unbelievable conditions that his children were living in, because he was forbidden from going upstairs. He said that he lived in the basement of the home and was ordered by Erica to stay in the basement. He said that he and the 2 oldest children even joked that he was banished to the basement. He cried as he said, "I love them and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew the house was dirty, but I had no idea that death was in my house." Outside of court, he briefly spoke with the media.
Did you do that? Did you ever see those kids? I never saw the infant at all. I knew she was out babysitting the older one, and I saw her once. But that was it.
And what was your interaction with her?
How do you know which one it was?
Where did the 3-year-old spend most of her time?
Supposedly she was in Kayla's cleaner room because she had Kayla clean her room so that the baby could stay there.
Ray's claims were extremely hard to believe. According to Erica's lawyer, Ray slept in the same bed as Erica,
Angriest Bloom, I go back and forth on that all the time.
From the bedroom where the 2 youngest children slept. Despite this, Ray claimed that he never saw the 5-month-old.
Thank you for taking
and
that
only saw the 3-year-old once, and was allegedly told that she was babysitting her. The following month, Erica's charges were elevated, and she was indicted on 2 charges of murder in relation to the 2 babies found wearing diapers and clothing. Prosecutors stated that one baby still had the placenta and umbilical cord attached. Defense Halpern shared his dismay by stating that they still had no evidence that the babies had been murdered. Ray was also charged with 2 counts of assault and battery on a child, causing substantial bodily injury, 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, and 2 counts of animal cruelty. According to DNA testing, he was the father of all 7 children. The grand jury had reached the conclusion that the noise level caused by the 5-month-old would have been blistering, and that the 3-year-old banged repeatedly on the walls and doors of the bedroom. They believed that there was no possibility that Ray didn't know that there were 2 more babies living inside his home. Ray pleaded not guilty to all of his charges. He was ordered to be held on $100,000 bail. Erica pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of assault and battery on a child, causing substantial bodily injury, 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, 2 counts of cruelty to animals, and 1 count of concealing a fetal death out of wedlock. In July of the following year, Defense Halpern filed a motion in Superior Court to dismiss the charges against Erica. He also announced that he would be seeking to suppress some evidence against her, and was going to file a motion seeking funding to hire a forensic anthropologist who could assist in the defense. The case was slowly making its way through the justice system, when in January of 2016, Defense Halpern appeared in court to argue for several charges to be dropped. In court, he argued that the murder charges were pure speculation by the prosecutors, and said that there was no evidence that Erica had neglected her children or caused their deaths. Judge Shannon Friesen would allow Defense Halpern to argue his case before her, but ultimately she announced that the murder charges would still stand, and refused to dismiss them. The judge said that she reached her decision based on the baby's clothing, as well as testimony from the medical examiner, who said that the babies were full term. Furthermore, it would be revealed that Erica's son said that he had seen 2 babies in the home several years earlier. Then in August of the same year, via his defense attorney, Nicole Longdon, Ray filed a motion to dismiss 2 counts of assault and battery on a child, causing substantial bodily injury. Prosecutors announced that they would be seeking to uphold the charges, stating that they believed that Ray knew about the children and did nothing to alleviate the dangerous conditions. In a hearing, Ray's defense also argued that he never actually had care or custody of the 2 neglected children, and that he believed that Erica was simply babysitting them. During the hearing, it was revealed that in a bid to keep up with her lies, Erica had created a fake Facebook account for a woman she claimed was the mother of the 2 youngest children. Furthermore, she had told the 2 older children to lie to Ray about the 2 younger children. In December, Defense Halpern asked the judge to throw out evidence which was found during the search of the home. He accused the police search of the home of exceeding the scope of the search warrant, which he referred to as vague, overbroad, and fatally defective. Prosecutors argued that given the bizarre and unusual facts of the case, the search was justified. The search warrant had listed possible crimes of kidnapping, trafficking, and child
She looks exactly like a picture of Ted Bundy.
The search of the home,
like
when the bodies were uncovered, had been ordered to search
in my
for
head
documents
sometimes
relating to the identification or potential trafficking of the 2 youngest children, who had been found neglected inside the home. Defense Halpern argued before the judge that the
when I
search
look at
for
the picture, I don't like just randomly have Ted Bundy pop up in my head. Sorry.
Where one body was found, hidden underneath a tile. He said that the search was beyond the scope of anything that was allowed by the warrant. The judge would ultimately deny the motion to have the evidence found during the search to be suppressed. In early January of 2019, it was announced that Erica would be facing trial in June. She was facing 2 counts of second-degree murder. Before the trial, Defense Halpern announced that his client was mentally ill and that he would be raising her mental health as part of her defense. The trial began on the 4th of June. During opening statements, Defense Halpern said that his client was suffering from mental illness and that there was no evidence that his client had committed a crime. Prosecutor Christopher Hodgins, on the other hand, disagreed, stating that Erica's neglect caused the baby's deaths.
This is a case about children. Children who lived under the same
I hope
roof,
you feel better soon.
but children who lived in vastly different worlds. These worlds were created by the defendant, Erica Murray. It was a world of light. This is a world of darkness. It was a world of kindness versus a world of cruelty. It was a world of the wanted versus a world of the unwanted. It was a world of light versus a world of death. These worlds collided quite by accident on the afternoon of August 28, 2014. It was on that day that a veil of secrecy was lifted from the home of Erica Murray. Erica Murray was mother of 7 children, but 5 of those 7 children.
Quinn, you're not Bundy. You're a very, very sweet person.
Until that
Ted Bundy was not a very, very sweet person.
He stated that Erica had created 2 different worlds for her children.
That is crazy,
a world of the wanted and a world of the unwanted. He said he expected that the evidence presented during trial would show that Erica caused the deaths of 2 of her infants and that she exposed her other children to suffering by failing to properly care for them or by creating unlivable conditions in the home. The first witness to be called to testify was Betsy Brown, the neighbour who found the 2 babies in the bedroom. She said that her son was friends with Erica's 10-year-old son, and she had been looking after him that day while Erica was out of town.
Yeah, but Quinn is
she said
actually
that shortly after
person.
Erica's son went home, he showed up.
I'm
at her
so
house
empathetic. I'm
once
basically
again.
psychic. Like,
he said that he couldn't get the babies to
I
stop
would know
crying.
if Quinn was
Confusion, first of all, came over Betsy.
I also love
as
their
far as she
accents,
was
Leaf
aware,
Ninja, so
there
much.
were no babies in the house, just the 10-year-old boy and his 13-year-old sister. She stated, "As soon as I opened the door, I could hear the crying, the screaming. You could clearly hear children in distress." She said that she followed the boy upstairs as she was hit by a pungent smell, which smelled like rotting food and dirty diapers. She said that there was trash everywhere, and the second floor was very hot. It was also pitch black because the windows were covered with sheets. She was directed by the boy to 2 bedrooms. Upon entering the first bedroom, she saw trash and dirty diapers piled up on the floor and found a 3-year-old on the bed. She said that the mattress was sunken in from the urine and feces, and that there were baby handprints in feces on the wall. She said that feces was pretty much covering the baby, who was rocking back and forth almost violently on the bed.
Feces completely pretty much covering her. Hair, body, everything. Dirty diapers, lots of dirty diapers.
That's all the dead
baby bottles
babies ever knew.
Maggots in them. Sorry.
She described how she went into the second
Blackstone
bedroom
House of Horrors,
and saw a
Sleep
younger
Ninja.
baby
It's
on
a
a bed
real
with
bummer.
dirty diapers piled up on the floor. Betsy cried as she recollected
one
taking
of the
off her
darkest
shirt
things
to try
I've
and clean
ever
the younger
heard.
child up.
It's
after
bad.
police arrived at the scene. As she left, she saw Erica speaking with police at the end of the driveway. She testified that Erica appeared to be upset with her 10-year-old son, and she overheard her saying, "I can't believe you did this to me." Her testimony was followed by testimony from Blackstone police officer Michael Pavone, who corroborated the conditions found inside the home.
Yes, when I first entered the residence, you can immediately observe a lot of trash, recyclables, rotting food, plates, kitchen, similar to what's in your household trash bag, bottles strewn upon a place, feces, diapers, and there's a bug infestation.
A bug infestation?
Yes, sir. You can see like bugs flying around, basically.
And is that,
Did I say Al Bundy? I meant Ted Bundy.
Breathing apparatus and suit that you referred to, was that in connection with the conditions in the residence?
That is correct.
Did you go to any particular locations in that residence?
I did, sir. I went to the second floor, back bedroom.
On entering the bedroom, what did you do there?
After we were able to get in, we had to shovel the pile of debris on the floor, which was a lot of recyclables, milk containers that still contain milk and fluids inside.
Okay.
Rotting. We used a shovel to clear a pathway to begin our search. The bed was covered. There was a space on the bed where we had to remove debris to get a place to put our items off the floor and to conduct a thorough search. It was covered with the same items I described earlier, plus mold on the wall, stains on the wall. We started removing the trash to get to various locations in there to conduct our search.
He said that there were dirty dishes piled up in the sink, maggots in a blender, and bugs crawling around everywhere. In the basement, he said he found 2 pets that appeared to have been uncared for. Officer Pavone also told the judge that when a Department of Children
human
and
and fur
Family
alike,
officials
just basically lived in
told Erica
fucking
that they would be
Silent
taking
Hill.
her children, she showed no emotion and showed more concern for her cat. Carrie Ann Phillips, a social worker with the Department of Children and Families, testified next. She said that she spoke with Erica on the porch and that she was calm and collected. She told Carrie Ann that she had given birth to all 4 children, but was embarrassed to tell the other children that the 2 younger children were hers. Around a week after this, DCF investigator Catherine Francie met with Erica and Ray. Once again, Erica was extremely calm, but Ray broke down as Erica said she gave birth to the 2 youngest children at home, adding that they had never been to a doctor. During the conversation, Erica kept referring to the 3-year-old as it. Blackstone Board of Health member and Code Officer William Walsh spoke about the squalid conditions of the home, as well as the disturbing condition of the 2 youngest children. He said that the 3-year-old was covered in feces and the odour in the room was sickening.
I'm legit horrified.
He mentioned the dirty diapers, which were piled up over a foot high in certain places. He said that in the bedroom with the 6-month-old, there was the carcass of a dog. He also acknowledged Erica's cavalier attitude. Under cross-examination by defence Halpern, he suggested that Erica's calm behaviour was evidence of mental illness, stating, "Would you agree that the reality of her situation was that all of her children were being taken away by DCF?
3 were dead.
And she showed
Sleep
no
ninja.
emotional response to you. Did it appear
4
that
were
she did
alive.
not seem to comprehend
There were no
how bad the
birth
situation
records
inside
of
the
2
home
of
was
them.
when she told you
Or,
it
well,
was just a
of
little dirty?
2 of the living ones
He
or
replied
any of the
with,
dead ones.
Yes. She seemed unemotional the whole time. Up until now, very little was known about the 2 youngest surviving children. The courtroom would be pleased to learn that both of them were thriving. Dr. Peter Sell, a paediatrician at UMass Memorial Medical Center, told the jury that he had examined the 3-year-old in the immediate aftermath.
She was seated on the floor with her legs in front of her in a with her feet kind of arched, and she put her forehead to the floor and so bent in half. at the waist. We were very concerned for profound neglect, meaning that she had not had a lot of stimulation.
He said that she was pale, her nails were yellow, and she had extensive diaper rash and poor muscle tone. It was evident that she hadn't walked much. He also examined the 5-month-old and said that her head was flat from being on her back, and she wasn't as active as an infant should be.
She was very content to lay flat on her back with her arms splayed out and her legs extended.
Dr. Sell saw the 3-year-old again after she had been in foster care for a year. He said that when he saw her, she was a completely different child, stating, "She came running up to me with a big smile on her face. She was more engaged. She looked a lot better." Erica's defense team would be arguing that the children, whose murders she was charged with, could not have been murdered if they were never alive to begin with. Medical examiner Robert Welton, who conducted the autopsies, said that the babies were far too decomposed for a cause of death to be determined. However, he said that there was no evidence of trauma to their bodies. He also couldn't determine whether they were stillborn or not, stating, "There were no internal organs to examine, and basically the overall state of the advanced decomposition didn't allow me to make that determination." However, he consulted with anthropologist James Pogness, who said with reasonable certainty that at least one of the babies had been born alive. One had a neonatal line on its teeth, which is discoloration in enamel that develops after birth. Defense Halpern attacked the scientific basis of this opinion and suggested that they were both stillborn and that Erica's behaviour was the behaviour of a mentally ill and grieving mother. The anthropologist refuted this, stating, "In any study I've ever read, no one's ever found a neonatal line in a stillbirth." Following this testimony, a recording of Erica's interrogation was played out. The interrogation had taken place after the 3 bodies were discovered. Massachusetts State Police Detective Sean Murray said to Erica, "We went into an upstairs closet and we found skeletal remains up there." Erica let out an unintelligible noise, which was something between a laugh and a sob. She said, "I have no idea," before claiming that the baby was not hers. According to the prosecution, this was just the first in a long list of lies, which would crumble during the interrogation. Before revealing the discovery to Erica, she had told the detective that she had given birth to the 2 neglected children at home, because Ray had told her that he did not want any more children.
Were you afraid of something Raymond might do with this 3rd pregnancy? Had he ever said anything to you in the past about having another child?
He didn't want to have any more kids.
This was, of course, met with disbelief, to which Erica said, "He never said anything, so I assumed he didn't know." She admitted that in a bid to keep up with the lies, she had created a fake Facebook account for a woman she claimed was the mother of the 2 youngsters.
That's so fucked
She was asked if she loved her children and if she was proud of them.
Okay, I have to
She began to weep as she said, "I got into it and I just don't know."
Looking at her face is fucking me up. This is fucking me up. Looking at the face of the kid, looking at her face, it's fucking me up. But no, Angry as Bloom, they're claiming that the boyfriend didn't even know about any of the children besides, like, about 5 of the children. That he had no idea about any of that, as if he wasn't obviously fucking her all the time. She had to have had some differences down there around the times of the birth, right? Like, you're not supposed to have sex for a long time after giving birth. A long time. And they obviously had plenty of sex, right? I don't like, it just doesn't add up. It does not fucking add up. Man, I feel so bad for the people that had to investigate this. Yeah, Defiant Heroes. I feel bad for everybody involved in this, including her and her boyfriend. I think that, like, it's inexcusable what they've done. I will never say that it's okay, but, like, you have to be mentally ill to be willing to live like that, and to also just, like, stick an infant in a backpack and just like leave it. It's so upsetting. The stork brought them, I guess, right? It's so crazy that she went on to make a Facebook page. There's no way he didn't notice his girlfriend was pregnant, didn't hear the babies crying, or smell the literal multiple dead bodies in the house. There is no way he didn't know. I agree, Pancake. There's no way he didn't know. There's no way he didn't know. She sounds crazy enough to try and claim that. I mean, she did try and claim it. Oh, you mean the stork? Okay, never mind. Sorry, my bad. Okay, God, looking at her fucks me up. Okay, I'm unpausing it.
How to get out of it. When she was informed that a body had been found, she said that if they did a DNA test on the remains, it wouldn't come back as hers. Her resistance broke as she stated, something must have happened. It wasn't born alive. She said that she panicked when the baby was born dead and stuffed it into the closet. However, she then denied that the remains of the 2 other children were hers. In a later interview, Erica said that she gave birth to all 3 of the deceased babies, and that all 3 were stillborn.
Everybody in the house sleeping? Mm-hmm. All right, so you gave birth, wasn't breathing. Did you take any type of life-saving measures?
Agree, Angry is entirely.
Did you clear his airway?
This is the darkest shit I've ever
Didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So what'd you do? Exactly. Tell me exactly what you did. You remember? Did you cut the umbilical cord?
Yeah.
No sound at all, baby. Made no sound whatsoever.
Death is a very unique
However, she later
smell,
changed
too.
her story and
It's
said
very
that one of them had
distinct.
survived.
You know what
for
it is
around
without
a week
ever having
before
smelled it
passing
before.
away.
You immediately know
She
what
said
the
she went
fuck
to check
that
on the
smell
baby
is.
and found
You
that
know
it
what
wasn't
is.
breathing. When asked why, she didn't call
It's
for
like
help. She
instinct
said that she panicked.
that you
Erica's
recognize
defense
it
team
even if
then
you've never
called on
smelled it in
Dr.
your life.
Amos Grombaum, who had a lengthy career in gynecology and obstetrics. He testified that the condition of Erica's deliveries, which she said had happened in a bathroom alone, put the health of her children at risk. Unassisted home births are much more dangerous than giving birth at a hospital or giving birth at home with a midwife. He estimated that these births have a stillbirth rate up to 10 times greater than those in hospital. He said that Erica's case would likely have been on the upper end of that range. He said that the babies would have been at increased risk of infection and early death because of the grim conditions inside the home. After a week of testimony and evidence,
doesn't make her...
the judge decided to dismiss one of the 2 murder charges.
I think she's still fucking guilty of murder, even premeditated murder in that case, because she knew she was pregnant and living in an unsafe home and had plenty of time to do something about it. You have 9 fucking months, technically more than 9 months sometimes. The balls, the gall, the absolute audacity. Thank you, Angriest Bloom. It's gonna be curly until it's longer, but it is turning out pretty good. If I may toot my own horn, honk honk. Anyway, okay, here we go. Unpausing. I'm just
against Erica, stating that there was no evidence that the baby was born alive, and therefore could not have been the victim of homicide. Following the decision, the trial continued. Frank DiCaldo, a forensic psychologist, also testified during trial. He had administered psychological testing to Erica following her arrest. He said that he found Erica to be a friendless woman with possible anxiety and dependency disorders, and she was driven by fear that Ray would leave her. He said she was concerned that he would reject her or leave her. I felt she had a pathologically dependent relationship with him. He said that Erica had an IQ of 84, which placed her on the low average range, although she had notable deficits in working memory and visual reasoning. She reported frequent feelings of depression, worthlessness, nervousness, and fear about her family, but she did nothing to address these issues. He said that Erica didn't display antisocial or psychotic traits and appeared to possess little self-esteem. Attorney Halpern questioned Dr. DeCaldo whether Erica's submissiveness and lack of self-worth could have made her suggestible when interrogated by police, and he replied that it could be a vulnerability, but said he had not reviewed any of the police reports or interviews from the case. During cross-examination by the prosecution, Dr. DeCaldo admitted that the tests he had given were just a snapshot in time of her mental condition, and her anxiety, depression, and stress could have been amplified because of her predicament. His testimony was followed by forensic pathologists Lisa Roccio and Judith Edersheim, who both said that Erica had been emotionally abused by Ray and that she was incapable of problem-solving, and didn't actually realise how bad the situation inside her home was.
Way worse than a hoarder house.
Erica really did believe that she parented those children to the best of her ability.
Dead babies.
And loved them and cared for them, and believed she was a good mother to them. She had concluded that a perfect storm of personality disorders and abuse led to Erica being unable to cope with her problems. According to Dr. Edersheim, Erica had displayed an irrational fear of abandonment, even as a youth. She said that Ray had been extremely controlling of Erica, and this escalated after Erica fell pregnant with their second child. She said that without her parents' constant support, Erica began to crumble. Both Erica and her mother said that while Ray never physically abused her, he displayed a number of controlling and abusive behaviours. He forced Erica to leave her job, became jealous when she socialized with other people, constantly asked her about her whereabouts, and threatened to abandon her.
What are you doing?
According to Dr. Roccio, Ray had used a pattern of behavior that instilled a sense of fear and dependency in Erica. She said that by the time Erica became pregnant with the younger children, she rarely left the house.
Like this. Why are you
Since she didn't work, Erica had no money and no access to the family's bank accounts. She said that Ray treated Erica like a servant and would call her dehumanizing names. Erica displayed no ability to productively cope with her circumstances or plan ahead, and would just ignore any problems. Dr. Roccio said that she had diagnosed Erica with avoidant and dependent personality disorders. This testimony would be rebuffed by Dr. Fabian Sala, a forensic psychiatrist, who said that nothing of the sort was true. He said that he reached the conclusion that Erica had no mental disorders, and that she had systematically planned the deceptions which led to the conditions in the home.
Oh, Kika.
He said, "The conclusions I reached is that Miss Murray did not suffer from a mental illness at any point in time in her life." He said that her actions and lies were not the result of impulse and fear, but instead were part of a masterful pattern of deception characterized by long-term planning and a lack of remorse. By the end of the trial, both the prosecution and the defense had offered two very polarizing portraits of who Erica truly was. During closing arguments, Assistant District Attorney Hodgins said that Erica was a serial liar who had deliberately left her youngest children to suffer in squalor while caring for her two oldest children.
I loved Harmon Quest.
Defense Halpern, however, said that Erica was mentally ill.
I definitely don't think that she was capable of planning this out either.
Living in fear of abandonment.
Yeah, agree, Sleep
Once
Ninja.
again, stated that there was no
I
evidence
believe that
of a
she had
murder,
mental disorders.
but
I think that the
instead,
prosecution is
evidence of fear and abuse
going
and
a little
mental
nuts on
illness.
butts to say that she
Assistant
fucking
District
planned
Attorney
it.
Hodgins
I think it's that she
responded by
doesn't
stating,
plan anything.
Did Erica Murray know what she was doing? Did she appreciate the risks? I'd suggest you look at what she said
I
to
think
her
that she
son
was
on
very,
that day.
very sick.
You have the answer. She said, "How could you do this to me?" She knew. With all of the evidence presented, it was now up to Judge Janet Kenton Walker to reach a verdict. She found Erica Murray not guilty of second-degree murder. She did, however, find her guilty of animal cruelty and assault and battery on a child. Judge Kenton Walker said that the prosecution had failed to prove that Erica had caused the death of the baby. She called the case senseless and tragic, but said that she had to be guided by the evidence, as opposed to her emotions. She stated, regardless of how disturbing the facts surrounding this case are to the community at large, and to me
I
as
never
a
even
parent,
considered that.
I cannot take into account those feelings. Erica Murray would be sentenced to 6 to 8 years in prison for the other convictions.
There are a lot of things that we do as judges that are difficult, but there is nothing more difficult than sentencing. We try to do it professionally, diligently. We try to take into account
I legitimately do
everything
feel bad
about the
for this
defendant
judge.
that we know and can
And
learn
for
about.
this jury, I feel
as
bad
well
for
as what
everybody
the society expects
involved
from us.
in this situation.
And as I said, it's extremely difficult. There is nothing about this case that is normal. There's nothing about this case that is a rational, sensible set of events. So when I sit and I think long and hard about what sentence is appropriate given the crimes that she has been convicted of, I have to take into account that the normal does not necessarily apply.
Erica got credit for the almost 5 years that she had already served. Following the sentence, Ray Rivera pleaded guilty to charges of assault and battery on a child with substantial injury, 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, 2 counts of animal cruelty, and 1 count of possession to distribute a Class D substance. He was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison.
They still worried about the pot through all of this. Holy fuck, America.
He received credit for 1,642 days in jail. He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for the reckless endangerment charge. He received credit for 136 days in jail. This meant that Ray would be serving around 2 years. On that fateful summer afternoon, Erica Murray's secret life of squalor was laid bare for the whole world to see, as police officers manoeuvred their way through piles of trash, used diapers and vermin. They hauled out 4 children who had called the nightmare home. The grim case was one of the most disturbing cases the area had ever seen, and many people still can't help but feel as though true justice was not served.
How do you serve justice? How do you serve justice for 3 dead babies that lived in that squalor for their entire tiny existence? That's all they
Well, guys,
knew.
that is it for this episode.
Was the smell of
Morbidology.
shit in the feel
As
of
always,
diaper
thank you
rash.
so much for listening. I'd like to say a big massive thank you to my amazing new Patreon supporters, Anna,
Also, the performance
Brenda, and
earlier,
Leslie.
I think, lends
Support on
credence to the
Patreon
claims that he was
seriously
abusive.
helps out. It helps to defray the cost of freedom of information requests, hosting, archive subscriptions, and much more. In return for your support on Patreon, you get exclusive Morbidology merch, exclusive episodes of Morbidology Plus that aren't on the regular podcast platforms, as well as ad-free, early release episodes, and much more. You can join for as little as $1 a month, and you can cancel anytime. The link to Patreon is in the show notes. Can I also ask that you enjoy Morbidology? Please consider leaving me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you're listening. Ratings and reviews are an easy way to support a show that you like. Also, make sure you visit us at morbidology.com for more information about this episode and to read
those
our
people
true
needed
crime
to be
articles.
studied.
Stay tuned to the end of this episode to hear a promo for the amazing true crime podcast, Crimes and Consequences TNT. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and have an amazing week.
Let's really quickly find Reddit text-to-speech. We're fucking running out of those, hey? Oh, no. I just heard Josiah talk about me in there. Did we listen to what was your I'm going to die moment?
Welcome
I
to
feel like I'm gonna for
r/credit by
sure have
Haunted
anxiety
TTS.
about this.
Subscribe and like this
Let's
video
go.
for more, and don't forget to click that bell button for notifications. What was your I'm going to die moment? I was driving home in a bad thunderstorm when
Yes.
suddenly the wind became
We did
insane.
listen to this.
I pulled my car off the highway onto an exit when suddenly a limb off a
100%
tree
we
sailed through
listened
the
to
air
this.
and cracked my windshield, so I hit the brakes. A
You're
second
right.
later,
Sorry. What event actually
welcome
traumatized
to
you as a kid? Let's do
r/credit by
that
Haunted
one.
TTS. Subscribe and like this video for more, and don't forget to click that bell button for notifications. What event actually traumatized you as a kid? My parents divorced when I was very young. Before I started school at age 4, my dad used to come get me every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every other weekend. One Wednesday he called my mom and said he couldn't get me that day, had to stay
Man,
late
that
at work.
shit, that was brutal.
I was a daddy's girl
I
and
cannot
took this
believe
very
that
hard.
shit.
I remember crying and pleading for him to pick me up. My mom took that as I don't want to spend time with mom. She pretended to call an orphanage, made me pack all my clothes up in boxes, and threw me out on the porch to wait for the orphanage truck to pick me up. I, a little 3 or 4-year-old girl, sat outside, alone, on the porch in a bad neighborhood for at least an hour, convinced I'd never see my dad again. At the end she told me I was so bad even the orphanage didn't want me.
Oh my
She
God.
also made me take weird pills one time. My dad has confirmed that I never had an illness that would require this. I remember they made me shaky. I think that was in 2nd grade. I still can't take pills to this day. I am 21 now and haven't spoken to her in 9 years.
Way to bully your kid.
I was
Yeah,
napping
think
on the
that
couch at
there's
like
gonna be
age
some
7 or
fucked up
8 and
shit
my
in
dad,
here.
being the prankster he has decided to put a
But
taxidermy tarantula
it is on
skin. He
Reddit,
was a
so
science
we
teacher who
have
had
the
recently
solace
bought
of
the
knowing
stuffed
it's all
tarantula for his
fake.
classroom on my chest. When I woke up I saw the tarantula and started screaming. Thing was, it was winter and I was wearing a fuzzy sweater and apparently tarantulas have velcro-like hair. I was running around the house screaming and crying and the thing would not come off. Saw a woman burn to death in her car after an accident as she frantically tried to get out of her
Woof.
mangled car. My knees got stuck in the banister
Afraid of
and my
dogs for
mother had
years
to
after
butter
hearing
them up
that?
to
Are
get
you
them
okay
out.
with dogs
Lesson
now?
learned.
I
If you
hope.
put your body where it doesn't belong you
That's
might get stuck
awful.
and have
I'm
to stay
sorry
there
that
for a while
happened to
until your
you.
mom butters you out of the situation. When I was a kid, I got sick. It was one of those 1 in a million disorders that required months of hospitalization
agree
to
as Bloom, I'm
diagnose.
with you.
As I was being bullied in school at the time, I actually enjoyed the hospitalization. I got to do my work in peace, chill out all day and read books, all for the low price of having my blood taken and getting run through the MRI tube. No one bothered me. I was alone. About halfway through my stay in the WTF ward, I got a bag full of get well cards from my school. It was obvious that the teacher made the class do it as an exercise and didn't supervise. Maybe 2 of those cards were legitimate well wishes, the rest was abuse. I had 30
Jesus.
lovingly handmade cards, all telling me how no one missed me, how everything was better with me gone, and how they hoped I'd die so that they would never have to see me again. I hid the cards under my mattress and pretended they didn't exist, but that was the first time I remember thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe the world is better off with me out of it. My dad ripped up my favorite stuffed animal in front of my face because I was crying too much. My brother molested me when we were kids. I can't remember how old I was, or old he was.
Okay.
I want to say he was 12 or 13. It went on for a while, and I thought it was normal, and then it started feeling wrong. I was friends with a neighbor girl, and he wanted me to go get her one day. I refused to go get her, and eventually told my grandmother. She told my mother, who waited until she left and called me a liar. Saw a lady at the airport pass out on the escalator and fall backwards, cracking her head open on one of the steps. Needless to say, I have been terrified of escalators ever since. You know that thing kids do where they push you before grabbing you and then say they saved your life? Well, some kid did this to me when I was standing at the top of a waterfall during a hiking trip at a summer camp when I was young. He didn't manage to get a good hold on me, and I tumbled over the side, but managed to grab hold of some rocks, preventing me from falling. I'm not even sure how far down onto some jagged rocks. One of the camp leaders pulled me back up, and the kid was sent home for the summer, but I've been terrified of heights since and absolutely do not trust anyone to stand within 10 feet of me near a ledge of any sort. Even people I completely trust otherwise can't come anywhere near me. If I'm at a ledge, I will scream and lay down flat to try and prevent the chance of someone pushing me accidentally bumping me. When I was 5 or 6, my mom and I were walking down the creek bed near our house in California. It was the middle of summer, so it was
Quinn,
dried
that's
out.
awful.
My
Really?
mom saw a hornet's nest and walked past it
I know
first,
those
wanting
kids?
to make sure it was safe for me. Well, they attacked, and my mom dropped her glasses. I ran after her trying to grab them and got stung multiple times, quite painfully, mostly on the face. The next half hour was my mom, basically blind, walking the half-mile back to the house with a crying 5-year-old on her back trying to navigate. Now if I even hear buzzing I start panicking and have had full-on panic attacks when a wasp or hornet is in the same room as me. Bullied in middle school. They used to get me on three-way phone calls. To this day, I still freak out and have to remind myself no one is going to do that to me again. It's been 15 years. My father thought it was a good idea to have me watch him slaughter our pigs when I was 7 so I would know where food came from.
What the fuck?
It turned me into a vegetarian instead. It was freaking horrible. He didn't use a big enough gun and it took several shots per pig. Nice one, Dad. Getting pulled out of a frozen pond at age 3 after falling through thin ice. My legs had collapsed under me and I was up to my chin in water before an older child came to the rescue. It was also the first time I realized that my mother's judgment was not to be trusted. She had ordered me onto the pond after I said I was afraid, then she wandered off without telling me that black ice is dangerous. For years afterwards she would recount her version of the incident as if it were a happy-go-lucky adventure and end the tale by laughing in my face. During grade school I found out from a book that people actually die from that sort of thing and I was furious but kept quiet because of the stakes. She kept setting up other potentially fatal accidents in ways that would give her plausible deniability if I died. At age 11 Dad decided I was old enough that a judge would take my custody preference seriously and he filed for divorce. The one good outcome is that upbringing makes a person clear-headed in emergencies. For example, a few years ago camping when there was a fire I had already grabbed 2 extinguishers and was sprinting toward the blaze while everyone else in our camp was wondering what to do. When I had my first panic attack as a child and my mom told me I deserved to feel that way because I was bad. Literally cannot talk about my feelings to anybody.
Jesus Christ.
When I was little, my father, who was and is a violent, angry person, would go on cleaning rampages and would scream at us if he found messes. One night after I had gone to bed, he burst into my room, yelled it's trash time, and started ripping my room apart, breaking things and throwing them away. This was just one moment out of years of dysfunction and rage, but it always stands out for me and I think contributes to the fact that as a grown woman I am still afraid of the dark.
Yeah,
being strip searched as part of the process for a psychiatric ward admittance. Probably being beaten and locked outside in a closet for days at a time. Drinking hose water and begging for food from neighbors. The worst time being in the snow after being whipped by an extension cord, the heavy-duty kind, and knocked unconscious having my head kicked into a fireplace corner. Woke up in the snow covered in blood.
Or it will awaken something in them that you
fluffy chow mix
ain't want awakening.
Sharing his doghouse, and I was smart enough to leave my coat and stuff on the outside porch by then. Snow helps welts and cuts. There was one scene from Sesame Street where one of the characters turned into a tree, but then since they were a tree they didn't have the power to turn back. When I was about 11, I woke up in the middle of the night and sat straight up immediately for whatever reason. I remember the sound I heard that woke me up was like shuffling on carpet.
Shit, I fucked
Anyway,
up.
I sat straight up and at the end of my bed, a man was standing there. He wasn't facing me, he was staring at the bookshelf on the wall parallel to my bed. I just stared at him. He slowly turned to face me, leaned forward and got what I remember, being like a foot away from my face, and just scowled the most evil-looking scowl to this day that I've ever seen. His eyes were like hot coals. I described it at the time by saying he had fire in his eyes. So as he was just standing there, staring at me with his embers for eyes,
is this supposed to be a ghost story?
So this is where the weirder stuff starts to happen. I remember laying down, trying to go back to sleep and telling myself I didn't see that, it was a dream, before getting overwhelmed. I walked across the hall to my parents' bedroom and told my mom I had a nightmare, so my dad went to sleep in my room. I tried to fall back asleep, but couldn't stop staring at the door, and then I broke down and freaked out and told her what I saw. She said I was so frightened and my heart was beating so fast she was afraid I'd have a stroke or something. Fast forward about 5 years, I was an angsty teenage atheist and used my experience as proof of how real dreams can seem, etc. Until my dad pops up, you should ask your mother what she saw. I was confused. I'd been convinced it was just a waking dream for years now. Turns out, a couple months before I saw him, my mom woke up and saw the same man I described standing next to the ironing board.
Yeah,
when I told
officially
her he had
don't
fire in
fucking
his
believe
eyes,
this story.
and I described his face.
Depends on the
she
kid,
knew it was
really.
the
Some
same
grew
man.
up hunting.
She also
hunting
thought
in
it was
her
a
fine.
dream
The first
and
time I
never
went
told
was
me
9 and my
because
dad
I'd be
bagged a
too
deer
afraid
with
to
his
stay in the
car.
house.
We still give
Everything
her
I
shit for it
remember
25
after
years
seeing
later.
the man was not correct. I didn't lay back down and calmly walk to my parents' room. I reacted hysterically.
Yeah, I just
and
don't
ran into
think
their room
that
screaming
those
there
are
was a
dice
man
you
in my
want to
room,
roll.
causing
I
my
don't
dad
think
to
those
jump
are
up
dice you
and
want
search
to roll
everywhere for this
at
guy,
all.
who of course he couldn't find. I remember sleeping in the room again after a couple months. Parents and sisters say I never slept in that room again. I wouldn't even go in there. I was so excruciatingly terrified that my memories changed to make it seem like I wasn't that frightened, I guess. I never saw him again after that night. But before I saw him, I would always feel afraid. My parents' bathroom always gave me the creeps and I couldn't explain it. I found out years later that he died in their room. I guess it sounds kind of stupid compared to other stories here, but it was pretty traumatic. We lived in the house for 2 more years, and I do remember times when I had to walk past my bedroom.
Barry,
I'd pause and then
believe
sprint.
a fucking
I will try to
second
draw
of
a
this
sketch of what I
testimony
remember
anymore.
him looking like. I'm 27 now, but I can still see it vividly. When I was about 8, my older sister came into my room and hid under my bed while I was brushing my teeth. I went to bed, and she waited 30 minutes for me to fall asleep and then squirmed out, grabbed my ankle and growled. To this day I stuff things under the bed so no one can hide there and always jump into bed from at least a foot away.
That is literally the scariest shit, the idea of something grabbing
my mom
you
grabbing onto my hair to stop herself from
below
falling.
when you're
My
sitting
father's
or
alcoholism.
getting into bed
My parents
or
constantly
whatever,
fighting and staying
on the
together
toilet.
for the sake of you and your brother. Being a fat kid up until puberty. I don't trust most people, men especially. I don't bother opening myself up to people because I believe a healthy monogamous relationship is about as dependable as the lottery is for a source of income. I'm probably dealing with some level of body dysmorphia. You can see my heartbeat under my chest when I inhale even just a little. So now I vent on Reddit. A lot of girls in my neighborhood had a crush on me as a kid. So they all decided to chase after me one day after school. A mob man, like 20 little girls or something. So I couldn't outrun them all and they millimeters. Pulled down my pants and saw my D. After that I could never trust a woman. It scarred me. It was 10 years ago and part of growing up, I guess. What really angered me was my next door neighbor hot girl was one of them. Trust issues, man. I have never told this to Amian, so I figured why not divulge to a group of people who don't know me. About the age of 4, a neighbor's dog jumped on me. It knocked me down and continued to pounce on me, bark, the usual dog thing. I was petrified and screamed while my mom just stood back and laughed. I genuinely thought I was attacked by a dog and was scared to death of them until I was probably a teenager. Mom would threaten me that the cops were going to come get me if my behavior was bad. Naturally, I was scared of cops until I grew up. Mom is a good lady, just made some mistakes like we all do as parents. In 8th grade last year my dad dragged me across the house to shave my head. He walked into my room and said you need a haircut and I started asking why. I didn't do anything wrong. I had excellent grades in school and never acted up. I was very confused. So when he went into the garage, that's where he cuts our hair. I wasn't there, so he went into my room and forcefully dragged me across the house into the garage. I kept asking him why and he didn't say anything. I tried to get away from him, but he just kept trying to drag me back into the chair. He eventually got tired of it and started yelling at me for being disobedient and not listening, and he was getting really mad. So I just sat down in the chair and he just shaved all my hair off. For weeks I got odd looks at school and constantly getting made fun of because I always had long hair and I cannot pull off a bald look. It completely ruined my self-esteem for that whole year and made me really upset. I have no idea why he did it and he never apologized or gave any explanation. I don't like being near my dad anymore and usually try to stay away from him, which is difficult because I'm in the same house. Being raped was pretty traumatic. One night I came home from basketball practice to my mom essentially negotiating a hostage situation over the phone between my aunt and uncle. My uncle, mother's brother, had gotten drunk and angry with my aunt, his wife. He wasn't attacking her outright, but was yelling and being belligerent and preventing my aunt from leaving the house. I guess my aunt freaked out and called my mom for help. My mom was talking to both of them over the phone, trying to calm everyone down and make sure my aunt got out safely. She was sobbing and more stressed out than I've ever seen her before or since. Even though the real crisis was somewhere else, it felt like it was happening right there in my house. I was so scared I slept on the floor of my brother's room that night. Even though everything turned out relatively okay, no one was hurt. My aunt eventually got out and they got divorced soon after. I've never been able to look at my uncle the same way again. He has some serious issues, mainly alcoholism, and I try to be sympathetic because he's family, but I really only tolerate him for my mother's sake. My former stepmom would often make food she knew I didn't like. Every time I puked, and she would force me to eat my own vomit. If I didn't, she would pick me up by my hair and drag me to my room, and I could only come out if I promised to eat it or when my dad came home. I still can't eat anything orange without feeling sick.
No way. Ugh. That was brutal. That was brutal. That was a brutal one. Okay. Guys, I think we're done for tonight. I just got to the end of this row, so it's a good time to stop. We'll pick it back up tomorrow. I think we're going to do Casey Anthony tomorrow, depending. But no promises. We will definitely keep working on this scarf for sure. I'm also going to, on stream, order the supplies that I choose from, or wait, no, I wasn't going to do that tomorrow. I'm sorry. At the end of the month, once hopefully we hit the donation goal. No hint, no pressure. Sorry if that came off as crass. I'm gonna do that on stream. I've decided that we can go shopping and choose yarn and stuff together. I think that would be so fucking fun. Quinn, I am going to, what is the fucking, I'm gonna message you. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow at, hopefully right at 8 p.m. Nova Scotia time. 6 p.m. Central, if that's easier for anybody else. Yeah, I'm about to message you, Quinn, in just a second. All right, everybody. If you guys could do me a solid on Twitch and just say the first word that comes to mind. Don't even think about it. Just the first word that's in your mind. Just say it in chat. Please and thank you, so that we get a big fat raid. Okay, bye, everybody. Bye.